Hey, what's up? Joey here from the Jungle Brothers. Welcome to the show. Before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to give you an update on the Jungle Alliance Coaches Intensive. Now, this is the course where we teach all of the essential skill sets that any coach who wishes to be world-class needs to know. So that is everything from effective communication, public speaking, class management, injury management, and the like, through to the business aspects such as sales, marketing, and how to run a successful PT business. So this course is actually the gatekeeper to the Jungle Alliance. So if you are interested in joining the Alliance, this is the course where you would start with. Now, it's a 2-day course. We actually had the last one booked for last month, for August. Of course, we're in lockdown here in Sydney, so the course wasn't able to go ahead. The next one, we haven't set a date for it yet because we're not sure when the lockdown's going to end. However, I wanted to let you know we will be doing one hopefully sometime this year. We're looking at around mid to late November. So if you are interested, please register that interest with us now because we do have a list of people that are already quite keen and the course does fill up pretty quick. If you want more information about it or if you do want to register, contact us at junglebrothers.com. Just send an email through the contact form there and I'll get in touch with you myself to have a chat about it. And if you're interested, we can get you signed up. Now, for today's episode, the OG listeners are going to love this one. We've actually got Tiora back on the show. For anyone who's listened to this show for any length of time, Tiora is one of the founding brothers, the Jungle Brothers, myself, T and Paul. This show, this gym was built around us. But T took off north. He took up to northern New South Wales around 4 months ago. And so he hasn't been on the show over that time. He's been finding his feet, getting his home settled, getting his kids in school, getting the gym set up. Been a bunch of stuff to do. So it was really cool to finally get him back on the show. We made a bit of an event of it for this one. We grabbed a few drinks, we grabbed some nibbles. We all hooked up online, obviously, coming in from our respective locations. But we did it at night because we don't normally like to get drunk in the middle of the day. So we recorded later at night. We had a little bit more of an open schedule about it. I think the show goes for about 2.5 hours or so. So it's a pretty long one for us. In it, we're really detailing T's journey from when he left Sydney through to where he is now. And he's actually recording today's episode from his new gym floor. So he's in the location. It's not set up yet. It's being set up as we speak. I don't think he has internet at home just yet. So he had to go down to the space to record. But it's quite cool. We got to detail the whole journey. There's some hilarious moments in there. There's a bunch of fuck-ups. There's a bunch of victories. And like any time we get together and have a chat, there's obviously a bunch of good banter. And then we talk a bit about the business stuff and some of the personal things between T, Paul, and myself, and just how the nature of how we work together has changed. We like to tell our story. We think that it holds a lot of value for anyone who's in business or sort of carving their own path in whatever they're doing. So we really got into it in this one. A couple of beers, a little bit of whiskey. It was great. It was really enjoyable. It was great to get T back on the show, and he has committed to coming back onto the show at least once a month. So you will be hearing more from him over time. Enjoyed today's episode. If you like it and it resonates with you, please share it with a friend. It's a really cool way for you to help support what we do. Anyhow, let's jump into the show. I really do hope you enjoy this one. We had a good time making it. Very bumpy start, extremely awkward. I considered chopping it off, but then I thought, no, you're probably going to enjoy hearing us kind of fumble a little bit as Tiora tries to find the optimal way to speak into his phone or his computer or whichever of the two had more battery at the time. Enjoy, guys. On to the show. Take this moment to formally welcome Tiora Ward back to the Jungle Brothers podcast.
Thanks, Joe.
T-Bone, you there, mate?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can.
Or by mute? No, yeah. Sorry. Hi, thank you.
T-Bone, can you hear us all right?
Yeah.
Yeah? Well, it's been about 4 months since you've been on the show. Do you remember how it goes?
Yeah, well, I was actually, I've been prepping for this one. I got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. But yeah, I remember. I'm never short of a conversation, Joe.
Well, the airspace hasn't quite been the same without you. However, Paul and I are ready for your 4 months worth of preparation for today to be the big presentation. What's you're down in your new gym space right now, huh? Tell us about
that. Yeah, I just signed the lease on a new space.
Woohoo!
Yesterday, which was awesome, and really exciting. And it's taken a little bit of time. I think I've been gone from Sydney for about. Has it been 5 months? No.
Yeah. Five, not even 5.5 months, just over 5.
Fuck, that's a long time.
That is a long time.
I didn't realize it was that long. I thought it was like 3.
I know. Well, that's what I thought. I had to look it up for a reason, and there it was. I was like, shit, time flies.
We actually haven't caught up, the 3 of us. So, not the 3 of us, really. Not for a beer anyway, which is what we're doing tonight. Sinking some piss.
Yeah, that's right. We've really only had we've had some business meetings in that time. But tonight we're getting boozed.
I'm drinking Mind Harvest. Colossal Brewing. I actually wanted to be drinking Mullen Madness from the Wandana Brewery, which is just down the road from my house.
Are you putting that out there to try
Madness.
To get them as a bit of a collaborator with your new gym? Is like I
fucking love that.
And a thing, an effort?
Definitely missing the One Drop Brewery. There's no brewery around this new gym. I'm hoping someone takes initiative and builds one, but Wandana is the closest I got, which is in Mullen. But Mullen Madness was actually a strain of marijuana that was grown in Mullumbimby in the 70s in like bulk. So then they ended up flying choppers over the top and finding all these plantations that I think a bunch of bikies were growing it or something. But it was supposedly one of the best strains of marijuana you could buy in Australia for its time.
You were telling me before that you couldn't even organize a joint for today, that there's no weed in your area.
It's dry up here.
Quite frankly, that's a little bit disappointing coming from the Northern Rivers.
Strange. I think lockdown just kind of like everyone thought, oh, I'm going to hold on to my stash.
Paulie, what are you drinking?
I got the One Drop. I got a hazy IPA tea for your visual pleasure.
Oh, I love it.
Yep.
How awesome are their cans?
Yeah, they're fun. They bring in all sorts of artists to pair along with their fun and crazy Willy Wonka-esque recipes. Yeah, they've got good stuff for sure. And Clay's a legend.
Shout out to Big Clay.
Big Clay.
T-Bone, can you try turning your phone the other way so that the screen's facing you? Oh, wait, it was. Sorry, that's the back of it. Oh, there's me. No, yeah, that doesn't work.
That's not POV.
Talk there.
Hello.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I've just seen if we could get your sound quality better.
Hello.
Gents, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. T sent a huge email talking with a list of all the things he wanted to go through. But I don't think it would be fair for us to talk about anything, to kick off with anything other than you two having a little bit of beef in the last 48 hours.
It wasn't beef.
It's beef. Beef needs to be cleared. The air needs to be cleared. Reset.
There's always beef between one of the two of the 3 of us at anyone.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of a third partner. As soon as you make up with one, you can start going to war with the other.
Well, we spoke about it. I spoke to Joe earlier. I rang him up about something else to do with, I needed to get him to help us with the platform and blah, blah, blah. But it ended up talking about it. But we spoke and, we don't speak enough. That's part of the problem. I think that's what we got to in our call the other day. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
We don't see each other enough, so it's hard to know what the other person's actually doing on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis. And I mean, that's part of the freaking mechanics of it now, where you two are both working together, and I'm working with Dills on the other front. So I think that's part of like the reasons why. Well, it's communication.
Yeah,
Loss.
communication, and there's been a change of communicative structure. We used to catch up once a week, and now I only see you once a month, and I see Joe once a week. But I don't get to see enough of you.
I used to smell you every day.
Yeah, we used to work shoulder to shoulder all day round. I think
and
there
into
was,
the night.
yeah, I think like there were, and even not talking, like you'd be doing, there's days that had passed where you wouldn't necessarily have to chat all that much, but you would see the other person there and there'd be little interactions. So even if we meet formally now, those sort of day-to-day sort of minute-to-minute interactions are no longer there. Paulie and I sometimes, obviously not through lockdown, but yeah.
I think it would be safe to say that most conflicts come from a breakdown in communication, or if lines break down. It's just one of those things that it's really easy to put aside and think, okay, I need to save time in a certain area, and to do that, I got to stop, having certain exchanges or meetings or talks with people. But then you've kind of pushed too far in one direction, and then before you know it, you're a bit isolated, and then you only have your presumptions. You can only presume what's happening on the other side. And now that our business is growing, and I'm I'm on the other side of the state, and Paul's got a full schedule, heading the botany, a fully functioning, monster of a space. We're also in two really different places. I'm starting again, a new gym and a new space, and it's just a different environment. And because of that, things are working at a different pace. When botany's pumping, I could be twiddling my fingers, and when I'm like, okay, I got to put the foot down, botany's in lockdown, and it's very difficult to have any kind of empathy for what the other side of the business is doing, in a way. Like, you're not in that person's shoes, so it's hard to, unless you're communicating on a regular basis, it's hard to get an idea of exactly what is going on. So we came to the conclusion that we just need to talk more.
Pretty much. We were just yelling at each other. Not like, fuck you, yelling. It was more just like, fuck, bro. And then we came to the conclusion that, we actually need to
me, bro.
No.
I'm not
let
your
me
fucking
finish.
brother, mate. Not your
Let me
brother.
finish. Let me finish.
You know my family.
Listen to me, bro. Not listening to me. Let me repeat it. Yeah, we're both talking at each other. And then that's when you're kind of waiting for your turn to talk. And then at the end, we're like, all right, okay, we probably just need to talk more.
100%. Yeah, that's also what we're going to do. I just got to make time for that, because it is a really.
I think I'm just going to call you.
Well, that's what I think too. Like, even little things. Random. Yeah, that'd be good.
I think that works really well for us, because it's nice, it's easy conversation, and it's a fill-in, and
Maybe I should just send you videos, little sneaky videos of me.
Oh,
just little fun ones.
Damn.
Az has been doing that with all the coaches and with his clients. He just sends little WhatsApps or in someone's Insta message, and it's just like anything stupid. He's just doing things with accents, and it's literally just to make people laugh, and lighten up and keep a connection with people over COVID lockdown. Maybe I'll just send you like me training or something like that.
That would
Me
definitely
flexing.
inspire me, because I'm actually doing none at the moment. My training is so fucking pathetically.
Well, that's why I said that, Because you told me that it
Oh
hasn't
yeah,
been.
it's not in a good state. It's actually the worst it's ever been for me ever. Today I trained for half an hour, and it was like with the ladder and some fucking mats, which everyone's going through in Sydney for the last however many months. But I was just so uninspired to do anything, and I've been sitting a lot because I've got to drive and I've got to sit at the computer and organize stuff, and I've just turned into like sore, like my shoulder's sore, my back is sore, my knee is sore, everything feels weak. And it's only been like that probably the last 2 months, actually, when things started to really ramp up in all the other areas. I'm just finding excuses not to get my training in. So I'm making changes to that. Now, once I build a gym, I can't escape it, you know. I need that. It was so easy to get inspired at Botany because you walk in and, you know, there's so many people just
Well, that's
pushing
part of
ahead.
it. That's
You
a
just
huge...
kind of just get dragged along with the tide, you know.
Yeah.
And so many fun people to train with. It's such a big social event. But right now, I have to either try and get up at 5:30 in the morning to train with Pavo, who trains every morning with us together at the moment.
He trains at 5:30?
No day off. Yeah, 5:30, 5 a.m.
Oh,
He's an animal.
God.
But and it's like freezing outside. I'm in a rainforest, so, and he's just out there in the cold, just smashing sets of everything made of granite.
That fucking kid.
Inside, mindset and body. It's quite amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah. But I started with him and then I just couldn't keep up. I got my son, he's still not sleeping through as well. That's my excuse that I use. Son's not sleeping through. But really, I'm just scared of going out into the cold and moist air to train.
Still climatizing. I'm still climatizing some 5.5 months later.
It's so like humid and cold. That combination is just shit. Like to train in, you know what I mean? You're like, to try and get inspired to get out there and get amongst it, you're like, oh man, that's tough. Especially when it's warm and dry inside, you know?
Yeah, well, you've got a lot of stuff going on right now, I would argue.
So we should go back to just before I left. We started, we had a party, got a big going away party the week before I left.
That one?
One drop, and then we went out.
Oh, fuck, we did too.
Tool Shed? What was it called?
Tool Shed. We went to Universal.
It's called the Rectum, wasn't
Universal, that's right.
Which was awesome.
What a night.
Fun night, actually.
I think everyone did.
And I got home. What time did you get home?
I did the back door. I think I got home at like sort of 1:30.
That's early.
Well, it is, because I did last man standing the last couple of gigs. So I was like, on this one, I snuck away.
I got home about 5, 6 a.m.
You
did. You always do.
With bets and stayed at my house.
Was it just the two of you there?
This was before lockdown. No, there were a few others. There was probably 4 or 5 of us left, and then we all left together. But yeah, and then we had the week of training after that, where pretty much every coach in the gym was shady and coming off a pretty heavy hangover, which was awesome. Right. And half our members as well. And that was just saying goodbye to everyone. I said goodbye to. It was kind of weird because it felt like I was going off to die or something. Every time I'd speak to someone, they'd like start tearing up on me. I'm like, I'm just going to fucking like Ballina. I'm not that far away, or to Byron. It's not that far, but it was really nice to get just to have some beautiful conversations with people that are close to me for such a long time. You don't realize how much of a bond you build when you're training with someone, 5 years, 7 years, whatever it is. And you don't actually, you day-to-day talk, but it's not until you kind of, you're not going to see them for quite some time where you start to, it's either that or the Christmas party where people start to open up,
Yeah.
and tell you, how much JB's has made a difference to their life, and the training and the community and all that kind of stuff, So that was an emotional week for me, saying goodbye to everyone, you guys.
I hate goodbyes, though. Goodbyes
man.
are tough. Yeah, I know. That's why people ghost it, because, it's just easier sometimes. It's not like you're not going to see us all again.
Yeah, well, that's right. But it was still, that's why I was thinking, I was like, I'm going to see everyone in a couple of months. We didn't know lockdown was going to kick in and then last for fucking half a year. So I'm like, I'm going to get up there in 2 months' time. Everyone's just going to continue to come up bit by bit, But I didn't think it would be as emotional as it was. But it was actually, it was really, I felt like the whole time I was just holding in, wanting to cry. And then when I decided to, when we packed because we bought our property up in Maynarm, and then I thought, okay, fuck, do I take a truck? Do I get a removalist, or do I hire a truck and just pack a truck myself? And I'm thinking, man, we're going to get most of our stuff up there anyway. Get rid of all the old shit that we got. I'll just rent a truck, and it should be sweet. So anyway, I rent a truck. This was coming off that week, the weekend before, so I was still like trying to recover from that big weekend. And then I go to pick this truck up, and somehow I ordered a truck that was, I thought I had an 8-tonner, but it was actually a 3-tonner.
3-tonner. I could not believe it when I heard.
Oh my God, bro. I had to get out of there that day because the people that bought my joint were moving in the day after, you know what I mean? So it was like really quick turnover. And I'm like, fuck, I got to get it out. And I didn't have enough time to order a bigger truck. So I just grabbed it and I said, fuck it, I'll take it back and see what we can do with it. And it was just myself and my wife. And my wife at that point was furious with me because I was obviously had the big night out, and then I was just useless the whole week before our move, and then wasn't around because I was wrapping everything up at the gym. And then she saw the truck and she's like,
what the?
And I was like, oh my gosh, what the hell are we going to do? So anyway, I come around the corner and there's a full troop of legends that just turned up to the house to help me move. Thankfully, like I had Carl and Steph and Elise and the twins and Clarice and Ty and Nicole and my mum, and man, there was a Marek turned up. There's a full crew, and I turned up with the truck, and they just looked at me and they're like, "You idiot! How is everything in this fucking house going to fit in there?" So anyway, Ty jumps in and he's like just stacking it like a mad Rubik's cube, and we packed this thing so fucking tight. It was ridiculous. There was not one gap in it that was available for air at all. No air gaps. All the way up until when the doors shut, you could literally, it was just like a big collage of pieces of furniture all stacked in amongst each other in every single little nook and cranny, and then the doors kind of shut. And I was like, oh, okay, we're on the road. My dad turns up and decides he'll help take a ute up as well for any leftover stuff. So I go ahead and the family jump in the ute, and I drive up to Maynarm, which is probably about a 10-hour drive. And this truck's like completely like over the limit. Oh, sorry. Before I drove, I said goodbye to everyone. And then just as I was about turn around to Carl, he goes, "Yeah, we'll see you in like a week or two." And then when he said that, I just fucking burst out into tears. I started sobbing. I couldn't hold it in. I was like, "Oh, I don't deserve any of you guys." And then I got in the truck, drove off sobbing.
I did not know that part.
It was fucking pathetic. it was absolutely pathetic. I didn't even know how it triggered it. It was just a build up, I think.
You're usually a rock. Well, you know,
Man,
not emotionless, but
it was full waterworks.
oh wow.
I think I was just exhausted, and just very grateful that all of these legends had turned up to help me, without even me asking for it. I was shocked and just really humbled. It was great.
Well, that's really
Anyway,
continued on for you up there.
Man, I drove this truck up, and it was pulling to the side for like 9 hours, just pulling to the left. And every time I try to creep up over 100 Ks, this thing would just start, like the whole truck would just start rattling and wobbling along the freeway because it was too top heavy, but it was definitely over capacity.
That is not safe.
Oh, dude, it was. You've all done it. You've had that truck in the film industry that was like full of gear that you shouldn't have been driving.
No, yes. You just crawl.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, I got to sit at 90 the whole trip and just fight this thing pulling to the left, trying to pull me off the road. And then I arrived way later than I thought I would get there. So it was like really dark. And, when you have a look at a place and you got stars in your eyes, it's like, oh, this place is beautiful. And it's a rainforest and we're going to be living in a rainforest. Oh my gosh, we're living in a rainforest. And you're like, oh, so it's going to be so great. Anyway, I start driving across there's 13 river crossings. And the first time I went out there, I didn't see one of them. But this time there'd been a heap of rain. So every time I crossed them, there was like, you have to drive through water, like a decent amount in this little 3-tonner. So I'm like driving through these river crossings and I'm like, fuck. I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's 13 river crossings, Anyway, little snake kind of rattles past me and then I pull into the location and it's just pitch black, not one single light anywhere, full star show, big mist sitting over the back forest and the creek, little house, wooden house, completely isolated, not a sound, no light. And at that point I looked around, I just thought, what the fuck have I done? I was like, what the fuck have I done? I brought my wife up to this, like, I've isolated her in the middle of nowhere and there's absolutely nothing out there. And then I'm like fucking exhausted and I'm thinking, how the hell am I going to get the shit out of this van? Because I had to put it into one room in the house. I was given one room to unstack all of our kit because the guy who owned the joint still lived there. And I'm like, after this 10-hour drive, thinking, fuck, I got to unload this Rubik's Cube. And then out of nowhere, there's like this angel that appears and there's Pavel who's just like parked up with the address and he's like, hey, T, how are you?
At night, he was there. He was in the night. There he was.
Yeah, he popped up and he was just like, oh, you're a long way from the beach.
He is your angel.
Dude, it was like, he has been a guardian angel for me over the last 5 months. It's ridiculous how this guy has just been like such a pillar for me, and just above and beyond. He doesn't need to do any of it, I wouldn't change the way I view the guy in the slightest, but he's just been there from that day until today, you know what I mean? Just day in and day out, like through everything from, my loan bouncing and having to refinance and, settle 10 days too late all the way up to, lease signing and finding this new business partner and all kinds of stuff. But he's been there the whole time, and
what a legend.
Yeah, it was amazing. He just came in and he's just a powerhouse. So he just fucking knocked this thing over in like half an hour. We had that Rubik's Cube packed into one tiny room with the same Rubik's Cube effect. and then that was it. I headed up to Mum's house after that.
That was everything. Your whole house was packed in. You got it all into the 3-tonner?
Got it. Yeah, that and a ute load.
Yeah, You didn't. It was a 3-tonner. You didn't get a bigger truck.
What's that?
It was a 3-ton truck.
Yeah, it was a 3 or 5. It was a maybe.
I think it might have been a 5.
5-tonner. A 5-tonner that was supposed to be an 8-tonner.
Okay.
But it was packed with 8 tons.
It was packed.
Holy
It
shit.
was packed.
I'm
Yeah, it
glad
was
you
a.
got there in one
You know
piece.
those mini Hino things, the tiny ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of them. But yeah, it was hectic.
For folks who are
But, yeah,
listening,
no.
tell us, because Pavel he had gone up there ahead of you, sort of anticipating your arrival, hadn't he?
Yeah, Pavel joined our gym, and he came on the podcast and joined our gym, and we were like, oh man, this guy's such an amazing addition to our family. And then he wrote this amazing email, just letting us know that he was resigning from the gym, which was very polite and dignified. And we were like, oh shit, we're losing him. And then I was like, oh no, we're going to lose him. And then I called him up and said, hey man, I saw your email and I know that you're on the move. I'm hoping that you keep us in mind when we move up to the Northern Rivers. And he said, oh yeah, no, I'm coming up. I just want to beat you up there. And so he arrived 3 months earlier just to get himself established and settle. And so he's been up here nearly 8 months.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know if you established for listeners, he was a coach at the gym.
Coach at the gym.
Not just a member.
Coach.
Yeah, wrestling coach. So a very highly,
coach.
Yeah, and a lifelong competitor in wrestling and coaching, right? He was.
Yep.
He would only just kind of really settled in at the gym before he was going again, but he always had that vision to go and be elsewhere. But he was attracted to us and what we did there. And yeah, when we first heard the news, it was really sad to hear that he was going to go. But I mean, it's all worked out. I mean, he was always going to be part of what we were doing somehow, but he needed to get out of Sydney. And I'm so glad that he's there with you and you guys are doing what you do.
Yeah, me too. So when I left, you took on my role, Paul.
Mm.
Tell us a little bit about that.
It's like you said, it's been
when T left, was it?
Yeah,
that's when I left too, officially, right?
Yeah.
So you took on both of our roles, like you and Dills.
Yeah, between Dylan and I. Yeah, it was just a tricky few months for sure because we were just trying to make the adjusting. So yeah, adjusting took some time, but I was always up for the challenge. I thought this was going to be really cool. We'd learn a lot from it, and we have. I knew that I'd enjoy it once I kind of adjusted to it and kind of knew where all the new roles and expectations lay and figured out how I was going to approach it myself. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it. And you know, as you knew when you were leaving and when you both left, it was always going to open up opportunities, not just for me, but for Dylan to step into things and other coaches to step into other areas and for the gym just to kind of like evolve slightly. And yeah, it's done all those things. It's been really, really awesome. I mean, COVID lockdown here in Sydney has been the dominant thing for the last few months. We're in, I'm not sure, week 11 or 12 or something like that. But before we went into lockdown, we had a really good run of just running the place, just the two of us plus the coaching team, of course. And you know, we've enjoyed every moment of it, and we think we've done a good job. And we're actually, COVID is fine. Like, we're optimistic about the whole thing, but it's been frustrating because we've been wanting to grow on kind of our new formation since we started. Like, we got settled in, and now we've got these plans and things that we want to kind of just continue the evolution of the gym in Botany, because it was always an evolving thing, and we're always doing something every year. We would have done something new every year, or one or a few significant things a year. And like, we're still planning, we're still doing those things, and coming into next year, we'll be out of lockdown soon into summer. We'll be busting out of the gates, but you know, you guys have been missed for sure, and that's not just by me personally. Having you guys literally on the other side of the room just to bounce something off, or just missed from a social friendship point of view, as well as the members. You know, they miss you too. But I guess that's just part of evolving, isn't it? You know, for all those things that we've lost, I'm also grateful for those things, because it's allowed us to, you know, to change and learn new things, etc. How have you seen it?
There was a couple of sort of main catalysts for it that I probably important to mention, but one was to ease the financial burden of all of us getting paid by the gym, which was damages taken during the last lockdown, put the business into a financial situation that wasn't, I guess you'd say it wasn't favorable. So it was good that, you know, that T was already leaving, but then T floated the idea, hey, I'm going to go soon, not right away, but why don't I stop getting paid by the business? And while I'm doing it, why doesn't Joe also step out so we can free up that money, and allow us to work on other things relevant to, we can talk about it after, but also to give all of the amazing coaches and shit that are there in the place an opportunity to step into new roles, because really we're like, it was kind of top heavy at that point, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's how T put it. It was top heavy, and it was a great observation. It was actually in our timeline to do this. You know, we got Dylan on 18 months now. It's probably about 19, 20 months ago. And that was the whole idea, was that this changing of guards and this moving on would eventually happen. We just got comfortable somewhere in the middle. And we got slowed down a little bit by the first lockdown, etc. And yeah, T was going, he was like, well, I may as well go now, and you may as well go as well. And it was like a good opportunity to just, it was a catalyst to go, oh, well, we actually need you to go. Because you've always struggled, because you guys have been wanting to focus on the next step, but you're torn between the two roles. So it was a real leap at the time. What do you, yeah.
We were sinking a lot of funds. That was the conversation Paul had brought to us and just said, look, and we've been there before, because our step into expansion, like to move into the Jungle Alliance, and but what are you drinking, Joe?
I'm drinking the last of a Japanese whiskey I got, Iwai Tradition.
Oh, that looks fancy.
It's quite nice. Yeah, the brand is Mars.
Lovely.
Japanese script always looks so pretty.
And I got this glass here. These are crystal glasses. They're not mine, but they are mine now.
I love crystal.
Ballin', Joe.
Reminds me of my grandmother's house.
True baller glasses.
Baller. I know. Put on some Biggie or something in the background with that glass.
Yeah, we were running out of money.
That's right. That's exactly how it happened.
But you know what it was?
Things were sliding downhill rapidly.
It was Big Az called me up, and he was upset about. Well, I put forward to him the idea of him taking on the marketing, like a what have we called his role with the
business? Yeah, he's doing business development.
Business development for our coaches, because we want our coaches to get better at running their own business, to get the younger coaches onto rent so we can make more money for the gym. They can be making money in the gym, supporting themselves, and it was all a great plan until Paul came to us and said, and we were going to pay Aaron for it, obviously. And then Paul came to us and said, we're broke, and I had to call Aaron and say, look, we've got to put it on hold. And then Aaron was like, I'm not super happy with that, because I want to contribute to the business, but I also want recognition and I want reimbursement for it, which is completely fair. And he wants that career path within that space that we have that we should be able to provide for him, which we wanted to provide for him. And he said, there's new trainers coming in and the place is getting busier, but I feel like someone's going to get squeezed out. And I kind of know what he meant by that. He meant him, like I'm just going to fucking get up and leave, which would be a huge loss for us at JB's. And that was when we thought about it. It was like, okay, what the hell is why are these guys getting squeezed out the side? And then it was like, okay, our business is too top heavy. And it's me, Joe and Paul sitting at the top, and we have to kind of free up the bottleneck so everyone can start moving through. And this is not just, in fact, it probably was me and you, Joe, because Paul came into the fray a little bit later, even though he's always a business partner. But his role on the floor came a couple of years after, or a year after we were hitting the floor. So he was always, there's no real authority structure in the gym, but there is those roles, those more senior roles that you want to move into. And by the two of us stepping out, it just allowed everyone really, that would, especially the more senior coaches in our gym, to step up and just have a little bit of time steering the ship and moving into more challenging roles. And Aaron being one of them. And then obviously me and Joe coming off a wage from the gym freed up enough money for us to start to cover our expenses a little better for AVO Soft, which is a huge expense for us every month. That's our digital platform build that we're using to help us expand our brand from gym to gym.
Yeah, that's right. I remember now that you mention it, that happened with Aaron. The same time you were coming to me saying, hey, this is what he wants, and this is how this is going to work really well. And I was like, no, we can't afford that. And it was because of the AVO Soft and just kind of the finances. I was like, no. And that's kind of when it all happened within a week or two. You mentioned that to us, and then it was like, well, hang on, can we actually do this? What would it look like?
That was a hectic way.
And then shit just got really exciting from there.
Yeah.
Like for Joe, it was intense. The prospect of stepping away and having the much needed brain time to do what you do, Joe, hey, because it's always been played second fiddle. To build this other business is always kind of second fiddle to what's going on in front of you. So you're always fighting for the time and the headspace to do marketing, building the business. Same with T. And yeah, it was a good time. So it was exciting when it happened.
Yeah, it's a funny realization when you look at what you're doing and you look who's around you, and you realize that there's plenty of people right there that could do what you're doing, and they could do it just the same, if not better. And I think it's at that point that you sort of have an obligation to move on. Like it wasn't until T pointed it out that I thought, what do I actually do here? Now. And
jokes, really good jokes, just ripping into people.
Yeah, good jokes, good banter
around the office. Banter guy.
half decent handstand some days.
Complain about someone not washing up their cup.
Yeah, police, general sort of hygiene around the gym. I keep people on their toes. And,
Joe's. Yeah.
but yeah, you're like, fuck, I don't need to be doing what I'm doing. I could pass it on. And then it's quite liberating. I mean, obviously, there was the immediate thing, which was like, oh wow, we're not going to get paid as much like anything by Jungle Brothers now. So they got to go and fill that gap somehow. But that wasn't a concern for me. That I was more excited that I could move on to bigger and better things. And that would allow other people within Jungle Brothers to move on to bigger and better things.
Which is a massive, it's a big step in detachment, because we've all spent so much time on that gym, and botany. It's got a piece of all of us in there, It's a very unique space. And I think when someone new walks in there, they just, maybe they see a gym, maybe they see a little bit of that, but you know, there's a story behind every piece of that build, you know, and every person in there. And it's, yeah, I was very, very nervous proposing to, especially to Joe, that he's fired.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
You're fired, Joe.
Yeah. I think you should be fired.
And I'm fired too. We're going to fire ourselves. But it was, we decided to give ourselves a new role, and that was to head the Jungle Alliance, or to work together at building our expansion of the brand. And we've talked about this before, you know.
We haven't really touched on it on the show for a while, but that's right. That was something that Paul had already been building. You'd already been building from a software perspective for many months, over a year, right? You know, prior to this time, or prior to that moment. But we had to build all of the other stuff that went with it. You know, all of the other like shit that goes along with building a business. You got to figure out your marketing, figure out how you sell your product, how you package it. Got a website.
What your product is.
Yeah, what is it? What's it called? How does it work? Like all that stuff that for us was kind of easy with the gym, because we just were like, oh, we open a gym and run classes. We're good at running classes. I think there's been a lot of discovery there. And so it looking back now, it couldn't have gone in any other way, because we had to go and like somebody had to go and create these other aspects of the alliance, which we're sort of sifting our way through now.
Yeah, you can't give something like this. It can't be a part-time gig. It's a full-time gig, you know. It needs that attention now. It has been a part-time gig up until now, where we've all been able to give a couple of hours a week to it, but it's getting to the stage now where it needs a lot of attention, a lot of nurturing, especially now with this second location opening up in Ballina. It's very exciting. But that was, so I had moved into Main Arm. Main Arm's like a crazy suburb. It's very different.
Is it rough?
No, it's like there's heaps of musicians, heaps of art. It's like musicians and meth labs, like a combination of the two.
Yeah. That sounds like Northern Rivers summed up into one sentence.
It kind of is.
Musicians and meth labs.
But it was like, it's beautiful, you know, the whole area. It's not like heavily farmed or anything like that. And there's, you know, you walk up the road and there's amazing rainforests and beautiful swimming holes. And then you got Mullum as the main town, which I'm a fucking huge fan of. But Main Arm itself, the little public school there, it's just, you know, there's no big fences around it. It's just, it actually reminds me of the islands a lot, Paul. It's got a real Polynesian feel about it. You know, that laid back feel. It's like, you know, roads there, but there's no fences. There's a creek running through the school and it's fine, and no kids die. You know what I mean? It's heaps of music, heaps of nature. And then the place itself, yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. But it's very exposed to the elements, you know. All those things that you don't think about, like mold, bugs, and you know, wet and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, your clothes don't dry.
But clothes just don't dry. And also like sores and shit, like kids will get a sore and then usually put a Band-Aid on, it's gone, and then the next day there's 2 sores, and then the next day there's like 5, and then the next day the other kid's got it, and then the next day you've got one. You're like, oh, what's going on here?
It sounds like that's kind of like the untold story of the island paradise. You know, you look at pictures of like Raro or Fiji and you think, oh wow, look at that. And then you're there and you're like, oh fuck, I'm so sweaty, it's so hot. There's shit crawling on you. Like there's this whole thing that comes along with the tropics, yeah, where it's actually like, you know, it's actually very like, it's a challenging place. Like it's also fucking beautiful, but it's not like it's just idyllic and cool and you're relaxing all the time. But yeah, It's the stuff that
Oh,
doesn't get communicated in a photograph.
yes. I got 3.5 acres on the block. It's absolutely beautiful. And then like literally the day of spring, you know how one day you wake up and realize you need a haircut.
Sounds like every
That
day of
that
lockdown.
happened. That yeah, that happened like last week. I looked out the window and the whole place had just like literally exploded in weeds, like just everywhere. And I was just like, holy shit. How the fuck do I deal with this?
It's all grass, like
No, like all kinds of stuff, like everything. Some of it's rainforest, some of it's introduced. Then you've got like this stuff that grows along the ground, stuff that grows up things. Half of it shouldn't be there, and you've got to remove it and get rid of it, and then replace it with stuff. And it's a yeah, there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. But even the house, like when we first got into it, I don't know how the previous owners were living in it, but you couldn't, the fireplace didn't work, and there was nothing to get the moisture out of the house. So every night, this like this wet humidity would just come through the house and because there's it's not good insulation, it's just a studio, a little Queenslander. The whole place would be like wet. Like,
yeah.
it's so strange. Like 1 second, everything's beautiful and nice sunset, and then the sun just disappears. And then all of a sudden, like the top of your car is just dripping with water. The clothes are dripping with water. And then you go inside and then like the top of the table's like wet and your bed's got wet in it. And you're like, oh, this is fucked. So we got this really horrible like cough, and everyone came down. You know those barking coughs where you sound like a dog? You're like, arr, arr, arr. We had the whole family had this barking
It's like
cough.
a sea lion.
Kids, yeah, Tiava, and he's like 6 months. And you know when you hear the babies with a barking cough, and you're like,
Horrible.
it just sounds like it's doing like damage to their little bodies. Anyway, my mum, we went up to visit her before lockdown, and she got the cough as well. So she was down. We went down for about a month and a half, and Mum went down for about 3 months. But it was some nasty virus. It wasn't COVID. We all got tested. But it was something else that had been floating around. And yeah, man, it just knocked us for like 2 months. We were out. We had to try and recover from this thing. But then Andy Walsh turned up out of nowhere. He just called me up and said, I'm coming up. Turned up on the doorstep.
Another
And I was
JV
like,
member.
"All right, bro, I need some fucking help." So him and Pavel got a new fireplace, put that in, a dehumidifier, and just went to town on this joint and started getting it like livable, sucking all the moisture out of it. And after, a couple of a few days, everyone's cough had just kind of gone. It was quite amazing. But it was interesting because you think moving into this area that's like all natural with, good quality soil and beautiful fresh air and clean water is going to be good for your body. But it just, it's not the case. It just bashed us.
Those type of climates, man, they're just like, they're optimum conditions for growing things. And I know going back to the island, to the village, like I remember getting to the house one time, unlocking the house that no one had been in for ages and opening it. And as you said, like I realized then we opened it and the house was clean, but everything was moldy. And I realized like the tropics, the walls, we had to spend like a couple of days just cleaning the house first, but everything is just trying to grow on you and decay. Everything's decaying. Decaying sounds negative, but it's just the next form of life is just eating away at it.
It's trying to steal your fucking calories.
It's trying to grow on you. I mean, it's trying to grow on your sores.
My kids
you scratch a mozzie bite and then
it's crazy.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
We're just like merging in with the natural ecosystem. But it really is just a fight for survival when you look at it from a different perspective. You kind of, because we're so used to staring at it from a safe space, it's not until you're in it when you realise this is a brutal environment, and the animals in there in this rainforest are all like. At first, we're like, oh, there's not much kind of going on here, and then Pavel walked out on the balcony. First time I've ever heard him swear, and the last time he was like, "Oh fuck!" And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So I kind of, and he's like, "Oh, sorry." So he's apologising for swearing. And we walk out, and there's this huge, tawny mouth. What
Owl.
are they calling it?
Tawny frogmouth.
Tawny frogmouth owl, big male, had just swooped him on the balcony, and then it was just sitting on the branch outside the house, and it was just staring at us.
So
and
good.
it was almost like this dude was just like looking at us and saying, "This is my bad.
That's right. Pay your dues."
I just want you guys to know." Then we had a mouse infestation, and I was just like catching fucking 6 mice a day, and it was hectic. I got the wrong mouse trap at first, caught this mouse. Oh, my daughter's like, she's a mad hunter. She's just like, she's into catching animals, and especially like vermin and toads and shit. So anyway, we go to the fucking miter tent, and she's like, "Oh, I wonder, Dad, get the mouse trap, because there's mice in the house. We've got to get rid of these mice." So I get this little mouse trap. And it's one of those little wooden ones, the ones you see in the cartoons with the flip on it.
Fucking snap your fingers if you do them wrong.
Yeah, but it didn't have much grunt behind it. So she's like, "Put some cheese on it." And I was like, "Oh, I don't think cheese is going to work. I think that's more of a cartoon thing. You might want to try something else." She's like, "No, I'm going to put some cheese on it." So she puts some cheese on it, sets it off, sets it up and behind the fireplace. And we're all in the kitchen just eating dinner. And we hear this smack, and then something's like, like just screaming. And then we see this mouse running across the floor with the trap like stuck to it, like his back legs behind it, like crawling, and it's screaming and yelling. And I'm like, "Oh, this is shit." And my son's like, "Oh my god!" And then Tiamat's like, "Quick, get that piece of wood and whack its head, kill it." So like, I'll take it out the back and I'll kill it with a brick. And then I got out the back, and this thing was like trying to grab my finger and bite it. It was really cute. And then I kind of opened up the trap, and then I let it go, and I couldn't hit it with a brick because I'm too much of a pussy.
Holy shit! It wasn't like your spine wasn't broken or anything.
No, it just ran off into the bush. And my daughter came back and said, "Did you kill it with a brick?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got it." And she's like, "Okay, good." I didn't want to face in front of my kids. Yeah, but you know what else is really like right now? There's a big firefly bloom, and so we've got a creek down the bottom of our house, and just on dusk and coming into night, all the fireflies are coming out and they breed. Have you guys seen them in action before?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, they're amazing. I know I'm going off topic. These things let off. They're the most efficient source of light source on the planet. They have 98% light to 2% heat. And to give an idea, I think an LED is like, 87% light to something around the heat. Anyway, the females will sit in the grass and a really dim light will come off the back. And the males kind of do this little dance, and they fly on top of the grass, and they light up real bright, and then they dim, and then they light up real bright. And then when one of the ladies down below look up and see the ones that they like, they will light themselves up real bright. And then the male will see them.
Come over here.
And then he'll do this little fly down, and he'll go down there, and then they get it on.
Little vacant sign. She's flashing the neon sign.
Yeah. It's kind of like humans in a nightclub, in a way.
Or that
app, that app where you don't see they can only see anyone who's interested in you.
It's a dating app?
Yeah, that dating app. You know the one?
I don't. But
you've both got to agree, or you've both got to like each other for it to show?
Well, the male profile is on, and then all the girls can see it, and then the girl will choose whether you can see them.
Right.
And they'll
That's kind of how it works, isn't it? The girl always chooses.
Well, yeah, that's kind of like how it was working in the garden, but it's pretty amazing. Like there's a full light show, just thousands of little baby lights going. It's quite, yeah, it's amazing. Little
You
moments like
know,
that. Where you're like, oh, this is sick.
I was meant to be there this week. That's
You would
when I
have
was
seen all of that.
arriving. Yeah. I had the trip planned, and we obviously let go of any hope of actually going some time ago now. But yeah, that was supposed to be this week. I'd be rocking up tomorrow.
That would have been awesome.
Oh man, with the campsite books at Red Cliff and everything. We'll get up there soon enough. I'd like to think that we'll open up, and maybe Christmas is a good time to come and visit.
It's going to be
But
hot,
yeah.
though, not Christmas.
Oh,
Any
yeah.
time, any time.
You're at the base of a mountain. I remember looking at it when you were on
Yeah, I'm in the middle of
online.
Nightcap National Park.
Yeah. So do you get much? You get the sun setting early over the mountain.
Yeah.
So
It comes up a little bit later and it goes down early,
Yeah.
which is hard to get used to, but also leaves a lot of time for just working without being in the sun.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
nice.
So is it, have you got much coverage on your actual property and around the house, like shade wise? Is it a little cooler underneath some trees there, or is it pretty
got a lot
hot?
of big trees.
Okay.
Got a lot of big trees. I've got a big shed actually, and that shed we're converting that into a second dwelling. The shed we found out doesn't have a DA on it, so I'm currently trying to convince council not to fine me. Stefan and Elise. Stefan's an old school member of ours, and one of my and his Mrs. Elise, both of them, and very, very close friends of all of ours. They came up just before COVID from Foster. They had a job on in Foster, and they came up, and Stefan had a look at the shed, and he kicked it, and half of the shed just kind of went on a lean, because it was just full of termite damage. And he's like, "Oh man, you got to fix this, otherwise, it's going to land on one of your kids." So anyway, the next day, his job went down in Foster, and Sydney went into lockdown, and he was like, "Shit, Sydney's in lockdown. I've got a crew of guys," which was Carl and Marek, and they're just kind of standing by doing nothing. And I was like, "Oh man, bring them up here and let's like kick the shed off and start converting it." So he called them up, and then within an hour, they were just, rather than going back into Sydney and into lockdown, they jumped in the car and drove up to my place. And then we had Elise, Stefan, Marek, Carl, the twins, which are 3 years old, and my kids. So we had 5 kids, 3 of them under 3, and then myself and my wife in this like 3-bedder, and it was on. So all the focus went on like just converting this shed into a house, and I called up Rhonda, who was another member of JB's, and her husband's an architect, and also both of them really good friends. And I just called him up and said, "Hey John, I need some plans for a house. I want to convert my shed into something I can live in. Do you reckon you could get something to me in the next day? But I've got no money." And he just started laughing at me, and he goes, "All right." And I was like, "Oh, you bloody legend." So anyway, he started working on something, and then plans came back, and I was like, "Oh, do you reckon you could make this change and this change?" And anyway, it's turned into something much, much bigger than we originally planned, which was just a 2-bedroom room, and keeping everything the same. We're now like turning it into this. It's not getting bigger. It's just getting more complicated and grander.
Can I say it was donned the Opera House of Maynard by Stefan, was it?
Steph turned around and looked at the plans, and he goes, he's French, and he's like, we're not building the Opera House.
But it does have a bit of a sail kind of like an opening awning that goes kind of upward to let the low angle sun in, right?
Yeah, it looks
looks
amazing.
cool.
It's going to look fucking so cool. But anyway, we had, at that point, we had 13 people at my house. And then we went into lockdown, which was problematic.
Were they allowed to be there if they were already there when the lockdown kicked off? They could stay there, or was that a no-no?
No, you can't have 13 people in a house from all with like Sydney addresses, you know.
Yeah.
In Maynard building on a place that has no DA. It was really nerve-wracking actually. At that point I was like, fuck, this is not good. All you need is one phone call to the cops or to the council complaining about the noise, because we're making a lot of noise. And then, you know, that's like, okay, we're gonna get fined for this, for whatever, maybe the build, or you get like, I think it's like, was it $3,000 fine or $5,000 fine for every visitor, you know, in your house at that point in time, including kids. And I was just like, okay, that was a tricky little space that we were working in at that point.
How's Dee, your wife, been throughout all this? Sounds like quite the adventure. And I'm guessing she's there having some strong feelings of her own.
She has been so fucking patient with me. It's unbelievable. I mean, and that's for the last 10 years, really. It's our 10-year anniversary this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'll have to call her up and congratulate her.
For lasting this long.
Yeah.
I never thought you'd last this
None
long.
of us thought you'd make it, Dee. No, that's awesome. 10 years. That's awesome. I'm stoked for you guys.
She's put up with a lot.
I'm guessing.
I mean, obviously everyone's there and she's friends with them all, and they're all helping us, you know, fix and build this place and get it livable, you know. But it was, you know, taking advantage of an opportunity that arises, and you're just like, okay, let's just do it. And Dee's just like, okay, I'm just going to kind of go along with the ride. There was no real recovery. There hasn't been yet, even till now, really, you know, where it's just like, okay, we've got to take a breather. It has literally just been go since we landed. Because in the background, I'm trying to find a gym like the whole time, you know. So I'm out. I'm not there. I'm not building. I don't have my hands on any tools. That's all the boys are just going for it, and I'm like out looking for a space, preferably in Mullum. And you know, I got Scotty, Pav, and Big Tones had come up, Big Tony, and you know, they're expecting somewhere to work out of and to run, and I had to make sure that I was doing that. Otherwise, I was going to lose these guys, you know. And they're all excellent dudes to have work with me. Andy's up there, like they're all waiting for that next step. Okay, what's going to happen with this expansion for Jungle Brothers and Jungle Alliance, and they want to be that next wave of gyms that open up, and this is the area they want to be in, but they want to see some fucking action, you know? Me taking proactive action to build this space that I said I was going to build. So I get in and have a look around at these joints, and they're like, okay, we've got 200 square, perfect, great. Get in there, have a look around. 2 car spaces per every 200 square, you know? So all the council regulations are you need 5 car spaces per 100 square meters. So I get in the council and I'm like, look, how am I supposed to, I want to open a gym, I want to work with you guys. How do we do that? And they're like, look, we're not trying to stop you from opening a gym. You just have to tick boxes. And I'm like, well, let's have a look at the boxes. And then the fella's like, oh, okay, well, you need 5 car spaces per 100 square. And I'm like, okay, show me this magic
property. Yeah.
Show me where it is, because it doesn't exist, you know?
For folks who are listening, that's like, we had a similar condition for our DA at Jungle Brothers in Botany. And with the size of the gym, it was something like you needed around 15 to 20 parking spaces. And the council has these regulations in place so that whatever businesses aren't drawing huge amounts of unsustainable traffic into certain areas. We were lucky at Botany because we were close enough to the main road and to a bus stop that that rule is negated. But what is it? It's like you need to be within 300 meters of a bus stop or something. If you're not, then you got to hit those numbers, which are like, unless you have a shopping center car park under your building, it's very rare that you're going to meet those requirements.
Yeah, I don't know if there's, I'm sure there's a bus that goes through Mullum, but probably once every 3 days.
You don't want to get on that. It's the Nimbin bus.
Like,
That's right.
No one comes back the same. You know?
But yeah, so it got to the point where it was like, this is going to be harder than I thought. Well, like 2 months into looking, can't find anything, and then Ty has a birthday at a party that he has to go to from Main Arm, and this birthday party is like one of his friends that he'd made at school, and I was like, okay, it's my turn to take kids to the birthday party. So I go, okay, I'll take Ty. So we get in the car and we drive to this location, and there's some directions to get to this location, and there's this little arrow that points to this place called Eagles Landing, and there's a bunch of letterboxes, and it's just a dirt road that turns off Main Arm Road, which is a road that I live on. So anyway, we turn off this road and we hit this this dirt road, and it's a straight dirt road. It's traveling through probably about 40 acres of property, all cattle and stuff working on this property, and then we get to the end through that property, and then there's this gate, and the gate's got a code you've got to put in the code, and the electric gate opens, and then all of a sudden that there's like this division between farmland and just really thick rainforest, and then a road that just goes straight up, and it's literally like the width of one car, but it's the perfect bitumen road, not a fucking pothole in it. And I'm like, oh wow, check this out. So anyway, we start driving up this road, and both of us, like, our heads sit back into, your head sits back into the seat when you're taking off from the plane. So I'm like, oh shit, check this out. So this road is like, it's really steep, and Ty's like, oh, I can feel my head at the back of the seat. So thankfully it wasn't raining because I had my wife's Tiguan, and we're driving up this road, and then rainforest either side, sheer drop on both sides, but lots of tree action. And then we pop up onto the top of this hill. It's like a mini mountain, and you can see literally 360 degrees of the Byron Shire. So you can see the ocean. You can see all the way down the valley to where we live, and you can see all the mist going into the rainforest, and it was absolutely spectacular. And because the cloud sits so low in that area, you're actually like cloud level. Then we walk into this place, and there's like a little skate ramp and beautiful infinity pool kind of thing dropping off over the rainforest. And anyway, I meet the dad of Ty's mate, and I'm like, man, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I buy and sell contemporary art. And I'm like, oh, okay, well. And he's like, oh, what are you doing up here? And I told him about, okay, I want to open a gym. I'm struggling to find a location because everything's too small. And then he turns around and says, oh man, I want to open a gym up here too, but I want to open a climbing gym. And he's like, what kind of gym? What kind of stuff do you guys do? And I told him about our brand and what we do, and he goes, oh man, it sounds like exactly somewhere I would like to train. And he goes, we should get together and have a chat about getting a bigger location. And I'm like, okay, well, that sounds good, because we can put a division in and have one side each or whatever. I was currently at the time talking to a few other guys as well about doing the same thing, sharing space. But anyway, I'd stopped looking for locations for a couple of weeks because I lost the spirit. I was feeling a little about everything. And then something popped up in Ballina, which is like an hour away. And I thought, okay, I've got to get off my ass and just go and have a look at locations. It didn't look like something that was going to be very promising. I got in the car and drove down to this space. I walk in, and on the left-hand side, there's 280 square, which is perfect for me. Bigger than what I wanted, but good. And the square meterage is a good price. And then out the back, there's like a 680 square, 15 meter high boat shed. Big old empty space. And then outside of that boat shed, you look out onto this estuary where there's this beautiful nature reserve with pelicans and seabirds and all kinds of crazy stuff going on. It's beautiful. It's like estuary view, and the doors on this shed are 10 meters high, and they can crack. You can open them up. And I was like, oh man, check this out. This is perfect. Like perfect for him, perfect for me. And anyone who goes to, if he chooses to run this climbing gym, has to walk past 2 open roller doors. They have to walk past my gym, which is obviously going to already a bit fringy and pretty cool, and we'll make it look nice. And I was like, oh man, this, and so many benefits for me because the space as a whole, the square meterage is cheaper. We can get the parking. So a project as big as that, council's going to look kindly on it because it's going to be, going to draw more people in and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm like, oh man, okay, this is looking good. So I give Seth a call and I said, look, man, I'm looking at this joint and we need to come and have a look. And I know it's further than we both anticipated, but I think you're really going to love it. So anyway, I'm driving home and I get this phone call from a guy that I haven't spoken to in years, from the film industry, both know him. And he calls me up and he goes, hey, Tiora, his name's Harry. And he's like, hey, Tiora, how are you? And I'm like, yeah, good, man. I'm like, how you doing? He goes, good, yeah, well, what are you up to? And I said, I'm just driving home. And he's like, oh, where's home? And I was like, oh, it's in Maynard. And he goes, oh, what are you doing there? And I said, oh, I've moved up here. This guy's a stunt man from the film industry, but he's also a property developer. So he goes, oh, yeah, what are you doing for work up there? And I said, oh, I'm going to open another gym. And he goes, oh, where are you going to do that? And I was like, oh, it's funny you should say that because I was looking at a place in Ballina, and this space has, it's got 280 square, which is perfect for me. And then this other fella's looking to build a climbing gym, and he goes, oh, yeah. And then I said, oh, yeah, it's funny because there's a Netflix production inside that space that they're just bumping out. And the real estate agent said that there's a stuntman in Sydney that owns the place. And then I was like, oh, you fucker, you own the joint. And he's like, yeah, I do. And I was like, oh, damn. And I was like, that's excellent. Because not only will have I secured the lease, but I'm definitely going to get a good price on it too. And he's like, he had a good laugh. But then after that, he said, look, if you guys are serious and you want it, it's yours. So at that stage, I was just like, oh, yes, because there was literally nothing. Places are going so quick up here, and to find somewhere that has parking was just didn't exist. So now we're looking at this space, and I'm thinking, okay, I've got to try and sell this space to Seth, and because he wanted to build a bouldering gym. At a bouldering gym, there's a fraction of the price of a climbing gym because a climbing gym has height, So you're looking at 2-3 times the budget, maybe more. And this space is big. So it's like, okay, he's going to have to find, we're talking probably when it's finished, he's probably going to have to spend around 2.5 million to have this thing kitted out.
Really?
Which is huge budget. Like, to do it justice, you can't walk into a space like that and just do a half job. It's got to be done right, And my budget obviously is a fraction of that. But yeah, so it was kind of like, okay, well, I'm wondering if he's going to go for this space and double down. And myself, Scotty, and Pavel all met up with Seth, and we came down here and we walked through it and talked through the potentials and all of that kind of stuff. And at the end of it, I was just like, oh, look, I want this space. It's perfect for me. I can't do it without you, but I'm ready to go. Like literally yesterday, I'm ready to go now. And he just turned around and said, oh, we can't not do it. We have to make this space like, you know, work. So at that point, I was just like, fucking yes! I was so excited.
Yeah.
And we were just kicking goals, you know, like houses getting built. The gym's like ticked, and, you know, I dodged a really big bill that was heading my way from not coming up with a loan. I was talking to Pavel about it, and I was like, man, I feel like we've just been kicking goal after goal after goal, and we've been on this roll that's just been never ending, like luck, really. And then at that point, I said to him, I know there's like this sneaky uppercut coming that I'm going to miss. I'm trying to like forecast what this sucker is, but I said I'm enjoying the ride while it lasts, you know.
You were so amped at that time. I remember.
Yeah,
I mean, had a few good calls with you, and we saw the videos that came through. I'm listening to you talk about the place, but I saw the videos, but you can't know a place until you've been there. But just from how you're talking about it, and I speak more to, is it Seth? Seth's side. I remember seeing the video. Is it big enough to have a climbing gym, belayed and whatnot, and as well as a bouldering portion there, or will it just be ropes?
It'll have everything.
It'll have everything.
Have a bouldering wall, speed climb, and your standard climbing, like your lead climb and top rope.
Yeah, unreal.
And at that stage, Seth was talking, because he's the kind of guy that he's just like, we sat down and we talked, and he goes, look, I just love the creative part, the building, putting something together. And he said, but I can't run things, like I'm the managerial type. Plus I got 100 other things going on. And he goes, you know, what are you like as a, you know, I think he was hoping that I was going to say, well, I'm the manager. Yeah. I said, I'm to be honest, I'm the same. You know, I like that building phase and the creative phase, but after that, management wise, I'm not very good at doing that. You know, I said, but we have a lot of fucking awesome staff and coaches that are coming through our system, which is building quality humans, you know. And his big gripe with the climbing industry is that he's just got terrible staff in all of these climbing gyms, and there's such a great place for people to be able to learn how to move properly and get coached properly, and combine that with proper strength and conditioning, which in Europe, because he's got another climbing gym in Europe, which they're just not into. Like, say, in France, they don't have any strength and conditioning that work with the climbing. They just want to climb and then smoke some cigarettes and drink some beer, and they're missing that other element that was quite big over here. You know, like, people recognize the benefits of strength and conditioning in Australia and the US and stuff like that, I guess. So he's really really keen and open to having our coaches and our systems integrate with what he's doing next door. And then I was talking about the name and potentially trying to get the Jungle Alliance name to represent the space as a whole, my gym and his gym. And I was speaking to you, Joe, about that, and you had some reservations about the idea.
I did, yeah. I think, I mean, I'll give you the reservations, because obviously there's so many different ways to look at it. But the only concern that I had was the potential for people who are watching the next step of ours, and really, like, T, you opening your gym there is it's your gym. It's a thing that you're doing, but it's also pivotal in this next chapter of the Jungle Brothers and the Jungle Alliance, right? So it's kind of carrying that load with it to an extent. And for people who are watching that from the outside, the Jungle Alliance is all about us expanding our influence to build healthy humans, strong people, strong communities, and to empower the coaches that can lead these communities, and to empower the coaches that will become the gym owners that will build the gyms where these communities will hang out, right? So to create more places like what we've done and what you're doing. So for people who are watching that, if they were to see it, and I was just really raising the idea, hey, what if this rock climbing gym like takes off, and let's say your gym doesn't, and his is just growing faster and it's bigger. And from a public perspective, the next Jungle Alliance gym, which is Jungle Ballina, is a rock climbing gym. Like that's the public perception, was like, holy shit, the guys have transitioned into rock climbing gyms. That's cool. My concern was like, hey, could that be problematic for us in terms of, we're not going into rock climbing, but obviously the way the way that it's evolving there is like, it's such a cool complementary business for you to have, tied up next door to your business, right? Like it's exceptional. And for you to have the adaptability to make that work, like that really speaks to our philosophy. But it was more from, that like, what if his thing is like becomes this Instagram sensation and people mistake what's actually happening with the brand?
What's your take on all of like that, Paul? Because obviously there's so many different scenarios here. I mean, I could have our Jungle name, and Seth could call his climbing gym something completely different. We could just be two separate businesses, or we can have the space called the one name and be like one big business, or two businesses under one name. And there's quite a few scenarios here and options here. And
no, I
obviously
can you, yeah, I mean, I'd love you to give me an example of what it might be, but like, it sounds like, so the mechanics, they're two separate businesses, two different companies with two different beneficiaries, but you're looking to leverage something just for public perception. So like, it's called some sort of, Ballina physical collective thing with a jungle thing. And so you're trying to like make it work for you. What would an example be? What would you call it for an example? The one place, and then how would you refer to the two?
Yeah. Okay. I need to go for a quick whiz.
Okay.
Climb Fit. He wants to call it Climb Fit.
Yeah, I thought this would happen because people are drinking.
One to fall.
That's right.
2 seconds.
Go. So like, what would you call it?
Well, I guess he can explain when he comes back. But from the conversation we had, the whole place collectively, the rock climbing gym and his gym,
is Jungle Ballina.
Called Jungle Ballina. Yeah.
I see.
And it would be separate companies, but it would they'd both be using our operating system. And
what about website and Instagram and all that sort of thing?
They would be separate, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, probably people would figure it out. It's a little confusing for the public, I suppose. So it's good. Yeah. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, like just I mean, I'm the gatekeeper of the brand in a sense, right? Like that's my duty is like to make sure that the marketing is on point and the messaging is clear. So I was just like, hey, I think it's a really good idea, but here's one potential problem I see. Imagine like the place blew up and then Seth's like, man, this is doing so well. I'm going to open another one in Western Australia and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to call them, they're all going to be called Jungle Ballina. And then you're like, holy shit, this is getting out of hand. Like,
yes,
something, and it's again, it's like, you don't want to be restrictive about how these things evolve, because I think the beauty of what we've done at Botany is to allow the unique, the collection of unique variables that make up the place, the location that it's in, the people that come there, our crazy neighbor Ivan, Tony, the SEO guy next door, our friends at the cafes. Like, we've allowed all of those unique factors to contribute to the place. It's the garden, it's the Christmas party, it's all that stuff. So you don't want to restrict those unique aspects that come along with any location from contributing towards it, right?
Yeah, but you're right. Like, it's a great benefit, but but half of Jungle Ballina is not kind of adhering to the alliance stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't
It just
speak to a young gym owner to go, oh yeah, like that's what I want to do. They look at T's gym and they're like, they look at and we want them to look at Tiora's gym and go, that's fucking mad. That's what I want to do. Jungle Botany, that's fucking mad. That's what I want to do. So is there a way that the rock climbing gym could interrupt or disrupt that perception for that individual?
Yeah, I see where the benefit could be, but like you're gonna have to have two separate names at some point. Like if you call it all Jungle Ballina, you have to be able to refer to one and the other. Oh, this is the rock climbing part with the membership for this, and then you've got what do you refer to yourself as then and there? So you could still probably call T's gym Jungle Ballina, call the rock climbing gym something else, and then it's going to become a hub. Really, it's definitely there's no rock climbing anywhere near that part of the coast, and I really think it's going to be the spot. So there should be a name, like an overarching name, like the hub, whatever it could be. And I think you'd still be able to rake a bunch of benefit from there. And I've seen collaborative efforts which have a separate account or set of marketing for that place, like those creative studios that have film studios, photography lab. Sorry?
Like the cannery.
Like the cannery, yeah. So the cannery has its own set of marketing to bring people to that place. But it's not called the Three Blue Ducks, and
yeah.
I think that you guys are going to be a spot, and I don't know what the places are around it, but historically, when you get one place that digs its claws and captures the local minds, like it could turn into a bit of a hub in that area, because if it's a little industrial area, other people will want to have similar businesses near there, and it could become a thing. Is that something, Seth? Oh, yeah. Sorry,
no, go.
Is that something Seth has expressed interest in, or is like just an idea of yours?
Well, I run around Seth through what it is that we do, our ethos, our values, everything, and obviously he's very if you would have done $2 million into a location, you want to know.
No.
What are you drinking for?
Pernod. And just for the listeners, there's a D at the end of that, but it's silent. Pernod. Pernod. Joe's brother got me onto it many years ago, and this has got a lot of dust on it, this bottle.
It's an aperitif.
Does it taste like pins?
It's like I say that again, guys. No, it's like an aniseed aperitif, as Joe said. It's strong, as in it has a very strong characteristic, but it's not necessarily that alcoholic as any other drink.
It's like not as strong as the whiskey that I've been drinking.
Exactly.
Get one thing straight.
You just straight whiskey.
I put a little bit of water in it, just a touch.
Oh.
Just to open up the whiskey.
I can't do it. I've tried so many times.
Like that. Yeah, I remember last time we had dinner around here, and T tried to have a glass of whiskey. You're like, I can't.
I keep trying. I want to be able to drink it, but I just can't. It's so strong.
It is, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't drink a lot of it. I bought that bottle over 2 years ago, so I just finished it tonight. So Misa and I have a glass maybe once every 8 weeks. It's ridiculous, but it's awesome. But yeah, I have.
That's enjoyable.
Yeah, just over time, and by adding that little bit of water, actually, because I did a whiskey tour, and the guy's like, "No, it's good to add water because it opens up the whiskey, as they say. It brings out the flavors, and it makes it a lot mellower to drink. So you know, it doesn't have to be the rocket fuel that you can have straight from the bottle. You know, it's still considered
OP, bruh.
prestige to add the water.
Nice.
But go on, where were we?
Yeah. Okay. So, what my proposal was to Seth was first to the first thing we needed to do was make sure that we have similar values, business values, social values, even political values, which is something that is a bit of a sub context to our brand. And I mean, when we talk about political, sometimes people think, oh yeah, okay, politicians and the rest of it. It's not that. It's about, here's a good example when we talk about equality. I mean, it's a politicized topic always, but it's something that's in our ethos, So we share very similar values, and then it was like, okay, well, if it was a cross examination of each other, So and you have to, like, I've never gone into business with someone that I don't know, so it's very risky, and especially for him, because the investment that he's making is much bigger than mine. And
that's a lot of.
I'm his shop front,
Yeah.
So I could easily be this parasite that just doesn't look after his shit. The dirty old Jim that doesn't put any money into his marketing, and who gives a shit? And he's still gonna tick over because he's pilfering people that are walking into the climbing gym, Or I could be something that's working symbiotically with his business, that and the two of us prosper. And good business is when both parties prosper, and this is the bottom line, And I think what I envisioned and what I was sold to Seth was, okay, you walk through these front doors, you come into my gym, or you walk past my gym or into my gym, depending on whether you train our gym or the Jungle Alliance gyms work off a membership base, and it's a premium membership, costs a lot of money, and you just pretty much do that. It's a one-stop shop for all of the training and nutrition and everything like that. For climbing gym, it's different. Climbing gym, it's the 1 or 2 sessions a week where people come in and say they drop $30, get a harness, hire some shoes, or kids parties, all the stuff that I have no interest in doing, he's doing. If you look at it as a business structure, he's literally, or a climbing gym, it's the opposite business structure to a Jungle Alliance. So when people want to get stronger or use a PT or any of that kind of stuff, that's my market. If people want a membership, that's my market. If people want to come in and climb once or twice a week, that's what the climbing gym wants. And they still have a big membership base. It's huge. But it's, the diehard climbers, and it's $40 a week. It's not a huge turnover for them. And you need those guys there because they're the people that everyone else aspires to be like, and they're the athletes that you have in every gym. We've got them even in our own. But yeah, the idea for me was like, okay, well, I see this opportunity for our brand to show how dynamic our training systems are, how dynamic our business model is, that we can survive in any scenario, and if not just survive, we can thrive in it. And being in the same location as this, what is going to be a bit of a juggernaut when it comes to gyms, and for our business to be not just benefiting from that space, but attributing to the success of that space as well, is is the vision that I put forward to Seth, and that is not just have my gym and his gym, but for us to use the outdoor space together and create and have, whether it's a food truck or we've got somewhere to have a drink, we've got some live music or DJ, because we've got this waterfront space, which is like, we're talking like 600 square of estuary waterfront with a little wharf, and we can do kayak hire and paddleboard and all kinds of awesome stuff. And this is like this: you walk in and you've got the science at the beginning, which is my space, and the structured training and the tech, or strict technique and programming and treatments and all that kind of stuff. And then you go in and then you play the game. You got your climbing. And that I see very similar to what we do in botany, but instead it's jiu-jitsu, And then you walk out through those huge doors into the back, and it opens up to this estuary and this big outdoor area where there's this space to socialize and to share good quality food and have huge gardens and all the stuff that we do anyway. It'd be like a combination of what we have at the front of botany and One Drop. You know what I mean? Here on location. So it just becomes this place where people come together, whether it's for holiday or if they're locals, or but it's got everything that we promote anyway, but it's here.
I got to see it. With Venice, with Venice, with the gondolas.
But that was when Seth turned around to me and we were driving back in my car, and he said, "Look, can you?" Because I told him about our build, our platform build, and the Jungle Alliance, and I said, "Look, I'm not interested in being involved in anything but building more of our gyms, So I don't want to invest in other smaller projects or anything like that." And he asked me, could the Jungle Alliance run an indoor climbing gym? And I said, most definitely, yes, it can, And that was when I started throwing around the idea of using our name and our font to represent the space as a whole.
I see.
And it was more of a uniformity thing. So it's like, okay, we have this underlying subcontext of, harvesting water, renewable energy, communal spaces for social interaction and mental health, community health, environmental health, and all of everything that we do in our gyms. But to do that on this large scale, but still have my space working on a budget, getting the numbers that we need for me to be able to show Andy and Pavel and all these other young up and coming coaches that want to invest in their own space and have those numbers there for them to be able to recognize that our model has the ability to not just be a fucking awesome and cool space to work in, but the ability to create wealth for these guys and earn them a decent living, So that was, and then when I put that forward to Joe, which I probably should have done it before I put it forward to Seth, but I have that habit of jumping 5 steps ahead. That was when it was like, oh, hang on a second, like this is moving quickly and potentially he's taking the reins and running off with the brand in a direction that hasn't been shared with the two of you, which I know I've done in the past. And so, it was,
I mean, it's unique perspectives too that, because for anyone listening to how you just justified that not decision, but, that idea, it sounds incredible. It sounds like a great idea. My perspective is from a different position. And so it's like, oh yeah, that kind of also makes a bit of sense too, which I think is just the nature, that's how we've figured out a lot of things in our business. isn't it?
It's how we find the middle ground.
Yeah, that's right.
You know? And I think the biggest hurdle that you were bringing up was from a marketing perspective, which you mentioned more than once, and that was tricky. You know, it's tricky.
Yeah, it's only that. I think the practicality of how it will all work for you guys up there is awesome. I'm just more thinking about how does it look to everyone else, and especially those who are not there.
And how does it reflect on our brand, and who is this guy that he's going into business with? Did you guys feel a little bit jelly that I was going to business with somebody?
No, actually, I took like a day and I sat down with a really nice piece of paper and my favorite pen, and I wrote a letter to Seth, and I just I wanted to share my condolences with Seth, and I took the time and I attached some photographs, and I
few words of wisdom.
I stand with Seth. That was
I must admit, I got a bit jelly when you first started doing business with JT.
Did you?
Yeah, well, I didn't know. I didn't know him. I didn't know. I knew him, but I didn't know him like I know him now.
You're not jealous now that you know him, are you?
I fucking love that guy. Love him.
Oh, that's so good.
But I was a little bit jelly. I'm not gonna look at him. No?
I'm not jelly of Seth. I just like I said to you yesterday when we were talking, I won't be able to watch any of your posts without just wanting to be there. I'm like fucking huge FOMO. Just that part of it, because I have some of my best friends live up there, and I love it up there, and I'll just be FOMO the entire time. But I'll probably be there twice a year.
But if you were up here, you'd probably be looking at Sydney getting FOMO as well.
I don't know. Oh, maybe for my family stuff.
If there is a diagnosed illness of FOMO, you definitely have it. I think.
You reckon?
Yeah. Yeah.
My sister's got it worse. My sister Betty's got it way worse. She's got it worse than me. But it's going to be special up there. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it is going to be fun.
And it's I like this part that you're doing, which, as you've been telling the tale, it's a struggle. It's like every day there's a phone call from the council or from this or that, something falls out. And it's just, there's so many hurdles, but for all the hurdles, there's this one thing that comes through and the excitement gets jogged on again. And I mean, you get to create a new space. It's like you've got a new canvas and you're starting from scratch and painting it. So that, for me, that's like super exciting. And I remember that energy when we were building the gym once before, when we had the first space, we had that opportunity. And then working on films, when you're on a new film, you're reading the script and there's a certain energy with that, which is really cool.
Paulie, the only fucking lighting technician that ever read a script. Like the rest of us didn't even know what job it was. Paul,
dude,
back to front, script read, knew what scenes we were shooting that day.
That was the secret, man. If you actually knew what was going on in the story, there was a lot of things you actually could figure out that was going on that shoot.
I believe you. I'm so perpetually impressed that you did that. He's like,
I read the book up in Paulie one day.
I read the book.
I came into set. I think it was the Baz Luhrmann, the last Baz Luhrmann, the
Gatsby.
Great Gatsby.
Great Gatsby. There was a day there before my wedding. I was like, I'm just going to stick with this guy the whole day, and I'm going to fucking be like one step ahead of him. So I saw his little shot list and the stuff he's crossing out, and I was just hanging with him I lasted about an hour. Like, fuck. It's too much. This dude's like not just ahead of every step the lighting department was making. He was a step ahead of camera. He was a step ahead of like fucking the assistant director.
I was not.
And I was just like, oh, dude, I can't keep up. I'm out. So I went
Moses,
back to the trolley.
It's like they talk about the deep state, you know, the cabal of the elite that are
Yes.
actually controlling the world. Paulie's the deep state of the film crew. The director's
Moses
actually taking a cue
gamified.
from him.
Hardly, but Moses did. My brother Moses, he gamified it for me. Once it was a game, I was just playing a game every day.
It pretty much was how you play footy. Actually.
Yeah, it was just a game. You're just trying to see the plays ahead, and you were
Yeah.
trying to never drop the ball.
Yeah.
So it was. I'll
Yeah.
never let them catch me.
I was a consistent ball dropper. Probably the only thing I was consistent with in the film industry.
No. Yeah, well, like if and that's kind of what I'm talking about. There's a game up there that you're playing right now. It's
a game.
It's exciting. And it's unpredictable right now, and that's a fun place to be in.
Yeah.
You know.
There was a actually talking about like the
build.
And that all the stuff that you tend to not talk about. There was a point there where we had 13 people at my home. We were deep in this build. I had no DA. The Northern Rivers had just locked down. My wife was like on the brink. She was putting up with me. My kids were homeschooling in that house. And then Seth called up that day, and something absolutely terrible and very traumatic happened with him and his family. And it was, you know, the kind of thing where you think, okay, was the worst thing that can happen? You know, it was one of those. And he was, you know, talking about, okay, I think, you know, there's a chance I'm not going to be able to go through with this build. And then we had everything that was happening with the Alliance. I had the guys from AVO Soft call us up and talk about, okay, we need more money, which we didn't have. And then we had on our end this transition that we were going to make into water-fired. Paul was losing his not trust in the platform, but he wanted more proof that it was even capable of producing an income for us because we're putting a lot of money into it. And when I say platform, I mean the expansion of our brand and the system, that the back end system is literally going to run all of our Jungle Alliance gyms. And so that was all on hold, and then my location felt like it had fallen through. And then I get a call from my father-in-law, who just tells me that, hey, T, you got to give me a call. So I give him a call, and he's like, oh, your mum's just had a heart attack, and off the back of that, a brain aneurysm. So, and I'm very close with my mum. She did I would say, she was a single mother, you know, and we're like best buddies. So she's gone down with this brain aneurysm, and then my wife calls me up and said, hey, look, the neighbours have complained, they've come over and they're losing their shit over these holes getting drilled. And at that point, I was just like, everything was just like caving in from every angle. And then that uppercut that I was talking to Pavel about receiving was, you know, me finding out that my mother, who's very vocal, and she's you know, she's an academic and she has some amazing conversations, can no longer, she's lost her ability to talk, you know, and exchange. And it was kind of, yeah, it was surreal until I had to sit down and it wasn't until I sat down and talked to her and realized, okay, it's not just talking to someone and they can write stuff on paper and show you what they're talking about. It's actually, there's this, it's like someone has grabbed your vocabulary and just pulled it out of your head. So when someone's talking to you, you're only picking up bits of the conversation. When you're trying to talk back, you can only say bits back. It's extremely, it's like kind of when you're learning a language for the first time and you've got a few words and the rest is just kind of jarble. And she's dropped down to like 41 kilos, the heart swollen, and yeah, it was. And at that point, I had to go for a drive and just find a bit of grass on the side of the side of the road, and I just laid there. I just laid in the grass, and I was just like, hey, I'm gonna like just lay here for a bit and just have a little breather, and then just collect my thoughts, and then head home and talk with the neighbours and talk with everyone at the house and get a new strategy together and all of that. But there was definitely this apex of pressure that I don't think I felt before, and it was because of the personal pressure that comes from family and people that you love. You tend to overlook those things, and always something that kind of pops up. And that was a shit day. And I spoke to Joe that day, and I just felt a little bit dead. And then I spoke to Paul, and then I guess it was my safe space, and I started having a little blubber again. 2 cries in a matter of months.
Yeah, man, that was I was feeling for you then. I think I didn't really speak to you till about 5 or 6 days after you'd found out about Shanta and stuff. So you'd already spoken to quite a few people. So I think I knew I couldn't do much for you, and you'd probably be dealing with family and other people, having lots of conversations. I'd spoken to people who had spoken to you. But yeah, I was just like, I wish I could just be up there and give you a big hug, because there's nothing much I can say. And your hands were tied as well because of the COVID lockdown. At that point, you can actually go up there and see her. And
yeah, it's very surreal because she's like literally across the border, 1 hour from me, and throughout that whole process, like the hospital, coming out of hospital, the rehab, I can't get to, and I actually don't want to, because it's all central and respiratory. And I had all these people from Sydney that were at my house, and this was before the lockdown, but it doesn't matter. COVID has been here for 2 years, and I'm thinking I can't go and see her unless I'm vaccinated. So I need to get this fucking vax, and it's impossible to get because it's all in Sydney. And then I couldn't cross the border anyway because we'd gone into like a snap lockdown. It was surreal. I was just kind of like, all these pieces were in the right place, and the gears were just starting to turn, and then it's like the engine just fell apart.
Fell out the bottom.
On top of that, I got a call from council. Then council came over and said, "You need to stop building. We're going to fine you." And I was like, "Fuck!" Just to top it off. So
I'll never stop.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're kind of like, all right, what do you do at that point? It's like, all right, well, you just got to kind of dust yourself off and start again. Thankfully, it wasn't that. Like, everything kind of got back on track and whatnot. But Tony came in, Big Tones, massive help, came in and put this profit and loss statement together. If you ever need a profit and loss statement, you got to speak to Tony.
It was more than a P&L. That spreadsheet was it's like the internet of spreadsheets.
It was spectacular.
What do you ever
Indeed.
in that process, like you got hit with some huge calls, your mum having a heart attack, the associated aneurysm, the neighbors with, the developing, the council stuff that, you were like, oh, fuck, I hope they don't catch wind of this. And they did. Like, at that point, do you ever think, fuck, this isn't going to happen? Like my house here, the gym idea, like I fucked it. Like this is, got to pick a new plan.
No, because if I was being sneaky about everything, it would be different, But the shed was legitly falling over. Something had to be done, and I said to council, I said, look, I have a moral obligation to put this shed into a position where it's structurally stable so it doesn't kill one of my kids, because the outcome of one of my children dying far outweighs any kind of fine you guys can give me. And they're both dads. And they were like, yeah, we understand, the gym, you just got to. It would have been okay. Well, Seth is going back to the States, and now we've got to keep looking, and it's time to, and then and looking harder and faster. I think, if anything, it would have just pushed things into another gear that I didn't think I had, But no, I don't. You know what it's like, bro. I don't want to. Can't. There's a difference between quitting and losing. Losing's when you run out of options. You run out of options and you're like, fucking lost. There's nothing else I can possibly do to keep pushing forward. Quitting is like, okay, I got options, but I've had enough.
That sounds like it's straight out of a Stallone movie. Is that just some 90s movie?
But it is, at the end of the day. There's always
a 2021 movie, son.
There's always options.
That's beautiful. And
I'm 4 beers in, so I can come up with even way more cheesier shit than that.
I did want to say, and children's safety is obviously a very serious matter. But when T told me about how he walked the council guys around his property, and he quoted moral obligation, I just thought that was a stroke of genius. And I think that we should probably name this podcast, and maybe Jungle Alliance. We should take this stand and say Jungle Alliance. It's our moral obligation to the people.
To take over the fucking fitness industry.
Pretty much. It's like, he guilted a couple of times. It was beautiful.
The part of the story hasn't got to yet is how he sold both of those council workers an upfront 12-month membership to a gym that doesn't exist yet.
Oh, that's so good.
I've been spreading the word everywhere. Like, yeah, we're opening a gym.
Early bed special.
I'm speaking to people in Mullum that are like, hey, when you open the gym? And as we were down at Ocean Shores, and it was me, Scotty, and Pablo, and we were like training in the gym. Down at this gym, and this guy comes up out of nowhere. It's like a genie just comes up, like puff of smoke, and he's like, "Hey, what are you guys? Are you guys coaches?" And I was like, "Yeah, we're coaches. We're going to open a gym up here soon." He's like, "Oh, you should come and have a look at our place. You might be interested in running workshops in it." And I'm like, "Oh, fantastic." Okay, so we'll go and have a look. And me and Scotty gives us the address, and me and Scotty drive up. And again, this beautiful driveway, huge open vistas. We go into this place, and there's this like art studio that looks out over the Byron Shire, and we walk in there, and it was actually the guy who was painting in there was an Archibald Prize winner, who's one of Australia's most famous contemporary artists. And we're in there. I'm like, oh my gosh, check this out! How surreal is that? And Scotty's like looking around, and we're both looking around, and then I start talking to him, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm signing with Leeds in Ballina, and the guy that I know is a contemporary art dealer. And then I was like, hey, you're a contemporary artist. I was like, man, I got to introduce you guys. And he's like, oh, that's fantastic. Let's have lunch at my house. So all of a sudden we're like organizing this party at these guys' houses with
Cupid.
Yeah, all of these funny little interactions that have been happening, which are awesome, but it's just about building connections, isn't it? Like, and not like connections, but connecting with people, relationships.
This is Northern River's Instagram.
It sounds like you've stumbled into a place that wants, what you're offering, and people are like sniffing that out, and they want to. I mean, I've had, I've forwarded a few people your contact. They'll be like, oh, I heard you guys are up here. Like, get me in touch with whoever. Like, I want to know about it. And that's like, holy shit, that wouldn't happen in Sydney, right? If Paul decided to open a gym in 5 Dock, we wouldn't have people reaching out and like, I need to speak with the guy, Yeah,
it's in desperate need up here. But to be honest, I think I have a feeling that it would happen fucking anywhere. I really do think that what we do is so unique and so awesome that we could go in anywhere, and when people get an inkling of us being there will be a matter of interest. You know what I mean?
It's so true. It is very true.
What are these guys going to do? And Simon Tukur?
Yeah.
Thakur.
So everywhere I went, everyone kept mentioning, "Oh yeah, I used a trainer called Simon," and I met Simon on the monkey, fighting monkey workshop many years ago, but didn't remember much of our interaction together. He spent a lot of time with you though, Paul, and every time I met someone, including this fella Roberto that showed me up to his house, they kept saying, "Oh yeah, Simon is like he's my trainer, my coach." And then Seth was like, "Yeah, so I'm training with Simon." And everywhere I went, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I feel like because Simon's got the big beard and he does movement and he does survival techniques. It's quite a spiritual
like
guy.
primitive skills and stuff, like primal skills.
Yeah,
isn't he?
Yeah. He's like he's a bit of
ancestral.
Guru. Yeah, ancestral guru kind of thing.
Mm.
I was like, oh my gosh, like maybe Simon's like taking me on this. He's like planting the seeds for us to get established up here, because I sat down with him and he wants us here so he can find somewhere to base his business within our space,
Oh,
and
great.
plus he also he said to me, "Look, I'm just really interested to see what the hell you guys do up here," like that's the curiosity thing for him is a big thing. And I was like, I caught him up. I was like, "Bro, every time I speak to someone, they know you. Are you like planning these people to come and talk
in
to me
front of
and
you?"
shit?" And he's like, yeah, I'm giving you all my contacts so you can make heaps of money out of them and take my business and I thought, oh, okay, so it wasn't the spiritual path that I'm supposed to be following.
What a legend.
Hopefully he comes to Ballina and starts training with us.
Where does he live?
He's in Mullum. He's between Mullum and Byron.
Mm.
But he's a fucking good guy. I really like that chap.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy and a smart guy.
Smart guy.
Yeah.
He's fit. He's strong.
Insightful.
Got his purple belt.
Yep.
But
he'd know Dave Brooksbank pretty well. What do you know, Dave Brooksbank? Did they spend time together as well?
Yeah, I think Simon and my old coach, Dan, who is Dave's old coach, or Dave's coach, I think they've spent a lot of time together on these camping, like ancestral retreats kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because Dan lives on the land and he's really into bushcraft and stuff. So I'm sure, and so they have these events where it's like, come along. If you've got some kind of skill set you want to contribute, you can contribute. It goes for as long as it goes for, like days, weeks, I don't know. And so I'm pretty sure Dave would have, met up with Simon.
Yes.
That.
Yep. Yeah. I think that it sounds like there's a need for it, but yeah, T's right. There's lots of places in need for what we do, even inside of Sydney. I mean, just this past week, I've had, a handful of conversations about people who are like, what you do is very unique. And, we wish we had it in our area, and, it has become clearer and clearer to me over time. And, you get stuck in your bubble too, but when you speak to someone outside of your bubble, you realize that there's whole patches of Sydney that doesn't have anything that remotely looks like what we offer.
Yeah.
And it's just that unique blend of the actual training paired with the community and then the worldview. I really think that we're on the righteous path, bro.
Most righteous.
Most righteous, man. Even in 5 Doc.
Dude, 5 Docs needs one bad.
All of the 5 Docs.
All of the 5 Docs.
They sure do. Yeah. No, I'll be keen to get up there. Yeah.
No, it is a very good point though. Like for a city like ours that is saturated with gyms, you cruise through parts of it and you're like, I mean, you got a lot of fitness places going on here, but they're all the same shit. They're all doing the same thing. Like there's nothing here that's doing something that you can really sink your teeth into.
Yeah, and also, I think what this is the other thing that I'm excited about being here, in Ballina next to this climbing gym. The whole Northern Rivers has potential for a jungle alliance, and each one, like the fact that our ethos, our brand is so dynamic. we can adapt and adjust depending on the environment. We do that with our gym in Botany. We have, the home of Bulletproof is in there working next to weightlifters and Olympic lifters, and we got our stretch and our body weight and all of that kind of stuff. But the fundamental that foundation is going to work just as well here next to a climbing gym. And if we open in Mullum, it's going to be, or around that area, something more intimate that's more interactive with nature and the environment there, and probably a softer gym than what Botany is and what we're going to have here, because that's what the people there are attracted to. Those areas of our brand that are still they're still prevalent in Botany, they'll still be here, but there'll just be a greater emphasis on those areas in Mullum, and that might be more of the breathing, meditation, stretch, body weight, then you move forward further up the Gold Coast, and there's just going to be more heavy lifting,
Yeah, the needs are different from place to place.
Yeah,
benches.
and
benches.
Yes, instead of getting this fucking cookie cutter where you're just like popping out the same cookie cutter mold for the same area, no matter where you go, like an F45 or a McDonald's or something like that. Each one will be unique, slightly different, but we'll still have those underlying values that every single Jungle Alliance has, which is directly relative to what we have in Botany,
Yeah, and I think further to that, what we're seeing like at Jungle Botany now, our original gym, is that with the change of the leadership there, right, from the three of us to now Paul and Dylan, and that, and then new head coaches have started to program certain classes and whatnot. You see that the program evolves again because it starts to reflect the interests of the people who are at the helm. And that's really important, right? Because people, they bring new interest, they highlight certain areas that perhaps once weren't highlighted. And more importantly, it gives them great energy to be coaching something that they have this input in and this passion behind. So they're like, okay, cool. This is what it was. Yeah, sick. I want to add this because I think that'll be really complementary. So you get like at each unique location, at each, Alliance gym, you will have this reflection of the individuals who lead that place.
Absolutely.
In the programming and in the build of the place and in the social events and all those things. It's not, hey, you got to run this rigid system that you've got no influence over.
That's right. And in the process, you are accelerating the evolution of that particular area of focus, like that thing that you're really good at, the stuff that you're very passionate at. You accelerate the evolution of that, and that can be handed over to the next person who doesn't have as much passion in those areas, but wants the best material and the most up-to-date systems that they can apply with their coaches in their gym. And this is that ongoing evolutionary effect that if you don't get involved with and allow it to happen and don't be so hooked up on trying to control it, that process, that evolutionary process, starts to create a more just a better product, a more supreme product or training system, and that's what we want. And obviously there has to be a level of quality control, and that's eventually the role that we'll play. We'll be just there making sure that there's quality in every step of the way. That's filming, the sound, visuals, on anyone shooting anything or posting anything, and then obviously helping with how people build their gyms, and then with the level of education that person is bringing forward, and everything. We're just constantly aiming for better quality, indefinitely, forever.
Yeah, well, that evolving methodology is central to the values of the brand, isn't it? It's like we said that from the beginning, that, and we talk about it every time we podcast about our program. It's like in the beginning, we thought that we could just get a bunch of like 12 months worth of programming down and then we could just repeat that year after year. But we soon realized that every year the programming changes because our interests change and our awareness changes and our level of experience and education changes. So you have different interpretations of things and you want to try different things. And that's the beauty of it, is that all of those different allies that are doing their own little evolutionary process can then feed back into this global sort of
we can share.
center. Yeah.
And the tribe, the people have evolving needs as well. And with all those issues, we can solve them together. So you might have the answer for what I'm experiencing now.
It's a great point, isn't it? Like think about all the shit you guys are doing at Botany now, Paul, with the lockdown and how different, I mean, not how different, but maybe in how you perceive it in your mind about handling the lockdown this time versus last time. Just like, you're like, yep, I know these things have to be done. And then because you have a system around things that we tried out last time, that gives you mental space to then go, you know what? I think we also want to start to add these in. So you can see like the way that the gym is handling the lockdown this time is it's fucking way better because you guys have just got, like, you've got your shit together and you've come up with new ideas and it's just getting better and better. That's a really simple example of like, you've now got this information that you could share. You got some other young gym owner that's opened a place and it's their first lockdown. You go, man, check it out. We've got a whole system for you. Run with this and, and adapt it to your needs.
Hello,
Yeah,
Bob.
absolutely. I'm
Pavel's just arrived at the gym.
Oh,
is he coming in
on the show and say hi?
He got himself a new vehicle, actually.
Oh, he sold, was it the Forester he had?
He sold Forester. He's got himself a luxurious Hilux iLoad, which is very plush.
Hyundai iLoad?
Hyundai iLoad, yeah.
I was thinking Hilux iLoad. That's some sick brand code.
But yeah, we're very excited.
I need one of these.
I don't know if he's crossing 13 creeks though to get to your house in the iLoad. I'm like, you need a higher chassis, bro. I have to add some extra suspension on there.
Yeah, especially when it's rainy season.
Yes.
But yeah, it's. I mean, I even it's been. I'm so used to working with the two of you now. I thought, okay, I'm coming up here and I'm going to be working alone. It hasn't been the case at all. Like I'm sitting here. I'm with Pavel every day. He's living with me at the moment, and this is a whole new perspective on business development and building this gym, and a lot of the stuff is like, oh, okay, it's very easy to go into this habit of like, oh, I've already been there and I know the answer, and it's easy to interrupt and say, oh yeah, no, we've got the answer for that, but to be silent and let that individual come up with something new and a different perspective and a different take to what has already transpired prior is like all of these new ideas that are coming through from this guy has been, it's been great. It's a breath of fresh air, and again, new information, new techniques, new styles of doing things, and Andy's the same. These guys want to build their own gym, and they're just got a lot of energy behind them, and it's feeding me. I'm really excited to see what the next steps are after this, because it's almost like these guys just want me to get this over and done with, so they can do their thing. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, this step just has to take place, and then it's my time. It's my time.
It's my time. And Amanda Nunes is still the fucking champ. So what's up?
Unbelievable. She's going to be like 70 and still holding that crown.
Did she fight? Did she just fight? You saying?
I don't think she's had a fight for a while, actually. No.
My time. Did you see Anderson Silva and Tito?
Oh,
sorry to cut back in. Tito and Silva fought yesterday, I think.
They fought yesterday?
In a boxing match.
Anderson knocked him out in 81 seconds.
Oh no!
Face
Oh,
In
he
a
would be good.
sleeping.
Oh, it was.
Oh, why did he do that? Why would you do that? Why would you
But
box
no,
that guy?
the worst one was the fight after that, right, Paulie?
I don't know what was the next one.
The one after that was Vitor Belfort and Evander Holyfield.
Oh my god!
Evander
Oh.
Holyfield is almost 60 years old, and Vitor just fucking creamed him in about, it was a minute or something. It was,
I did not say
It
that.
was awful, because
Oh.
Vitor's obviously pumping that fucking acai again. He looks like 25, and Evander looks like he's a grandfather.
And there's no
And,
testing.
Yeah, there's no test. It was like
Oh,
Tito
that's
and
a shame,
Anderson and
'cause-
Sylvia, like, oh, that's, whatever. If Tito wants to go there. But
Oh, God.
yeah, Vitor Holyfield was heavy.
Did he switch his lights off? Did he switch his lights off? Was it ugly?
Yes, he did. He knocked him down, and they kind of switched off momentarily. He had that look like, where the fuck
Oh,
am I? And then he got
damn.
back up, and he's like, yeah, I'm good. And then he finished it.
Damn it!
Yeah.
It's not good. That is
Oh,
not
they're
good.
doing
I would not want to see that. Anyway,
everyone's jumping on the Tyson
Money, bro.
versus what's he went bandwagon?
Well, Tyson's he's given a new lease on boxing career to all of these ex-fighters who blew all their cash in their heyday. I mean, that was some of the criticism I saw about Holyfield. It was like, this should be a lesson in how to manage your finances when you are at your peak, because you don't want to have to be taking money fights when you're fucking nearly 70 years old and copping concussions as a result of it,
Oh no, you don't recover from that.
But the other side of it is that people are like, he's a grown man, let him do whatever the fuck he wants. And there's a part of you that sort of agrees. You're like, yeah, I guess if that's what someone wants to do, right? If people want to spectate the fight. Anyway, back to the alliance piece. We should probably wrap it pretty soon. But what are the next steps? You've mentioned, obviously, Pavel, Walshy, you're sitting in your gym right now. It's not a gym yet, but you've got it. You signed the lease. Where are we at? What is happening over the next few months? What can people expect to see by the end of the year?
Okay, so
Briefly.
we've hit base camp, and we're going for the summit climb now. So from here on in, it is gym build. This is where I called Joe and Paul relentlessly at all hours of the day, saying, help, I need fucking website, help, I need content help, I need programming help, I need staff, send some fucking staff up here, all of that.
I need TikTok.
So I open up a Facebook page.
Okay, so all right. Well, I'm
it's
bracing
social
myself
media.
now.
It's website. The gym itself is floor. I just need a rig to do, to hang our shit off, and that's like baseline for me. I can soft open on that, and I've got to get the word out. But most importantly, I need our platform up and running, or the Jungle app, because this is our member management system, where I put everyone's details in, and that charges them a direct debit, and our programming is in there, and it's literally the backbone of a gym business. But obviously, our system allows me to communicate with you guys in Botany, because right now all I want to focus on is getting members in the gym, making sure they're tended to. But I want good quality programming. I want that from Botany, because I know you guys are coming up with new stuff as well, and I don't want to have to worry about that. And then I want to be able to catch people's details. I want them to have a good user experience with the sign-up process, and then I want to be able to deliver a fucking top quality class to these individuals here in Ballina, and then obviously throughout the Northern Rivers, because people always talk about what is first impressions last.
Yeah.
So that first impression, that first class that someone has, especially in an area like this where it's not a huge population and everyone talks. Like, someone's going to come in and it's going to be this big hype. Hey, the new gym. Someone comes in, it's shit. Or they come in and they go, man, that place is fucking pumping. It's sick. I feel great. My shoulder's already feeling like it's stronger, and, loving the training. That guy Pavel's an awesome coach, really lovely guy. and the sign up process is smooth, and the transaction and all of that stuff, all the stuff that people tend to overlook. The only time the only time people bring attention to the digital side of a business, which is like your accounting and the Xero and all of the stuff, the back end stuff that everyone kind of overlooks, it emails, is when it doesn't work, or when it fucks
Bastards.
up. Hey, you charged me
true.
twice, or hey, that got bounced, it didn't work, and try it again, or hey, my membership should have cancelled and it hasn't. Like all of those, that's the only time people generally pay any attention to what we perceive as, obviously the backbone of the business. So right now we're in this process where we want to get our member management system and what binds the Jungle Alliance, our application, ready for my gym. So the process is that we get everyone in Botany onto it, and with that process, it takes all the bugs out of the system. And then I'll be our first Alliance member, and all we'll be focusing on is having this beautiful space with amazing coaches to welcome the local community and run Jungle Brother or Jungle Alliance programming.
Mate, pumped for that. You just let us know what you need.
Oh, he's letting us know.
He's letting us know. We'll be on the mission. We're on the mission to get it fucking silky smooth. I mean,
what this is,
I'd like to see you.
Sorry,
well,
Paulie.
we'll have the software. We'll have that ready for you. About the same time as you get your website ready. Let's have a race.
To give a bit more clarity to folks too, this is like what T's doing is essentially like a test case. Well, not a test case, but it's allowing us to test run everything we need to do for the Alliance and for a potential ally that would open a gym under the Jungle Alliance. So they go, hey, I fucking love this thing. I want to open my own place. And we go, Matt, jump in our piece of software. It's going to run your gym for you. And it's also going to give you all the education you know and need to become an awesome gym operator and build an amazing community, got the programming built in, et cetera, et cetera. And so all of those little things, right? Website, how to do a good job of social media, how to fucking set up like payment systems and whatnot. It's all in there. And this is all stuff that we didn't think of when we opened a gym. We were just concerned about running classes. And this is the thing, is that you open a gym because you want to run epic, you want to do really good training, you want to help people, you want to make an impact. You're not thinking about, oh, what's the best payment system for me to use?
How do I run my business?
Yeah, how do I upskill coaches? Or how do I even create coaches? And one day, how do I not coach everything? So it's like we're building that so that this young gym owner can just have all of the chances of success.
Just came up with, you go ahead.
It's not like, it's not like anyone can just jump on. Like, obviously, we have people that come through our memberships and the coaches that are already coaching in botany, and then we've got our coaches intensives. So there's all of that too. But once we have that candidate, that perfect gym owner, it's like putting a sword in their hands that's like on fire.
Oh, I like
They're
that.
just slaying.
Dismembering fools.
Yeah, it really is. It's just that tool that we always wish we had when we opened our gym. It's going to be such a pleasure to be able to give that to someone else and just say, look, that's all the mistakes that we've made in our life are in there, so you don't have to make them.
Yeah.
I just sort of like a good marketing ploy for you, T. And maybe it's something for like a reality show, Endemol Shine, or one of those companies we used to work for, Joe, where it's like, The Block, something like that, but it's like The Block for Jungle gym members. The cameras are going to follow you during your build. People are going to watch your whole journey.
And then what?
And
he gets pitted against, like, does he get pitted against another gym? That would be sick.
Yeah. there's two gyms going at the same time. We come in and
next door to each other.
yeah, we come in and criticize a little bit or point out the obvious. You know, like, oh, okay. How many car spots though? Yeah, like that. I'll get a film crew up there in a week. Ready to follow you. Man, your story is the one.
How long do you think until people can come and train at Jungle Ballina?
We're looking at 4 to 6 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks.
All right.
4 to 6 weeks. And we're going to be, the address is 28 Smith Drive.
Here he goes.
Ballina.
28 Smith.
We're just going to be like washing walls down and rigging stuff and doing stuff. But if you're in the area, I know there's plenty of people up here that I haven't seen yet. Just come in and distract me from doing work and have a chat.
Have a chat. Meeting. We'll call it a business meeting. We'll claim it.
28 Smith Drive, West Ballina.
I'm Googling it now.
And when
if you want to coach with us, come and have a chat. Come and have a chat with me.
When is the alliance open for business? When do we have a platform, a digital platform that someone can take a look at?
Mate, that's a question for Paul.
Give me an ETA on that.
Sorry, what was the question?
Well, when does the Jungle Alliance have a working piece of software that people can look at?
We had 3 milestones to hit this year. We wrote them on the whiteboard at the start of the year. The first one was for botany, Jungle Botany, to hit 200 members. And we were so close to that happening, and then we went into lockdown. And that happened. It went from, we were stuck at like 170 for ages, and as soon as me and Joe left, all of a sudden it bumped up to like 190. There's no collision with that. Pure coincidence. And our sales, and all of a sudden the numbers went up. You guys are on like what was it, 190 or something hit? 180 something?
Something like that. We were on our way. We thank you for that boost.
So it would be safe to say that Jim probably would hit that, and it's not too late. You never know. We might come out of lockdown before Christmas and we might hit that milestone. But even if we don't, we've still got our second milestone, which was to get off Waterfy and to get all of our members onto our own system, our own back-end system that we've built over the last year. And it's been a year and a half. We've spent a lot of money, huge amount of time, had heaps of arguments, well, not arguments, but debates over building this thing. And now it's coming to a head. And we have, for us to get a minimum viable product up and running for my gym to safely use this system with no bugs, Paul has to put every member from our gym onto this system or transport them off Waterfront onto our system. And it's around the 160 or 70 mark. How long, and KG from AVS Soft guys that are building this system have told me that it needs to happen in a week for me to get it for me to get the minimum viable product in a month. So that was the conversation that me and Paul had. And I guess the question is it possible, Paul?
Can you deliver? You're gamifying for this. You're gamifying it for me, you bastard.
I mean, Moses said you could, so just asking you.
That's right.
That's a big job.
Babe, I know we're on holiday, but this is like game 7 and this is clutch time, babe. I got to work.
You've just gone on a holiday. That's the first holiday you've had in 2 years with your wife. And
like lockdown. We're at home. We're going to come damn close. We're going to probably have to exploit the 4 to 6 range, the kind of middle to back end of that range, and not from any lack of effort or want from our part, but it's just literally picking up the phone and calling people is going to take time. With that many people, there'll be a lot of missed calls and call you back and I'll grab my card. Let's do it tomorrow. So yeah, we're going to do it. We got Joey. We recruited Joey. We dragged him back into the ranks. We got a few other members. the coaches that are all going to help. We've got a meeting tomorrow, and we're just going to go ahead and swing a flamey sword at the task. Chop away.
That is fantastic.
Mm.
How amazing is that? So you'll have, and obviously he's got his secret weapon, which is Dylan Butcher.
DB is coordinating the whole thing. He'll run the meeting tomorrow.
Right now.
Yeah. Yeah, he's working now while I'm
amazing.
drinking with you guys. First time drinking on a podcast.
I got my secret weapon up here. I got Pavel Sidesky.
Joe's
I
got
still haven't
Ivar.
found a fault in this guy. I've been living with him for 3
I'm my
months.
fucking secret weapon. I'm a one-man army over here.
I haven't found a fault in Pavel. I thought the only fault I could find with him is peanut butter. Is the only
He eats
that's
peanut
it.
butter.
Well, a lot. Like I'm talking, the big,
I
Waiting
smell,
out
I
him.
smell. I'm like, there's
Mavis
something not
jars.
right about this guy.
the big Mavis Charles probably goes through one of them a week on his own.
Wow.
That was like
And
him
that's
and
it.
Betsy. Betsy used to do that too, didn't he?
No, there's something there, bro. There's no booze. It's bed on like 8:30, 9 o'clock every night, training 5 a.m. in the morning, no matter what. And then just powering through the day, ticking boxes. This guy there's no kinks in the armor.
He's going to get a girlfriend. It's all going to go out the window. All going to be fucked
Well,
up.
he has one. And she's actually, well, oh, yeah. I mean, she is, she's an early bird like him. So there's nothing's gonna keep him up.
What a guy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's
guys.
an impressive character, as is Dylan Butcher.
Yeah. And we got this wave of young, impressive characters coming through. It's great because we need someone to replace you guys.
So folks can be expecting your gym by the time this comes out. Well, this will come out in a few weeks' time. So what are we, mid-September? So people will be looking at mid-October to early November to be able to train at Jungle Ballina. And that means they'll be able to look at Jungle Alliance, what it offers, and this associated piece of software at around the same time.
Yes.
That's fucking awesome. This will come out in a couple of weeks, so that will only be weeks away from by the time folks are hearing this.
This is like 5 years of building up to a catharsis like this.
Potentially longer. This is from day one, us talking about doing something like this.
It's quite surreal.
I think we got to do another episode soon where we spend the time on. We've brought them up to date, and now we've got to take them through the future journey, which is what the steps are from here forward.
Where do we go? Where do we go now?
Yeah,
Boys, I got to go.
I think it's a great spot to wrap it up on. It's been an epic journey for folks. I've run out of beer and whiskey.
I need to go for another piece though.
This is the first time we've had a drink on the podcast.
First time. I can get used to it.
I'm just, a couple of drinks to keep me company here this arvo.
Gents, thank you. T, it's good to have you on. It's been too long since you've been on the podcast. And like we've spoken about in the last week, we want to make it more of a regular thing. So for listeners, you can expect to hear from T more regularly. We're not sure how regularly, but more regularly.
I missed it.
Yeah, Matt, I've missed you too on the potty. We'll just work it out. We'll get you a little spot there. We're going to have to carry on for some time. We'll end up. You've got a big space there.
Remember a Triple M? Was it Guido?
Guido
Yes.
Lebanese snap kick to the side of the head, mate.
Just pop up every now and then randomly.
Kick the listeners in the ear and then just piss off again.
All right.
I'm looking forward to it. It's good. We'll keep everyone up to date. Miss you guys. Love you all. And let's get together within like a month's time from now. I think it'd be good.
4 weeks.
Or a couple
done.
of weeks. What are you
Done.
thinking? 4 weeks. All right, let's do it. It's a day.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, we'll see. I'll book you in, but yeah, at least maybe 2 weeks is good.
But I will speak to you like next week though, T, because we're going to
Yeah, we gotta
talk
talk.
weekly from now on.
We're going to talk more.
Yeah,
You
for the
fucking
listeners, we'll do a
bastard.
little check-in on how the subplot between Paul and T is playing out, bring you guys up to date. Stay tuned for more next time.
I'm swinging. Yeah,
Thanks, boys.
Good to talk to you. All right, boys.
Thanks everyone
you.
for listening. Love you guys.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Bye.
We'll see you next week. Thanks, boys. Love y'all.
All right, peace.
Bye.